All right. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all today. Thanks so much for tuning into our 13th episode here of 6 on 6. Troy and I are pleased to welcome none other than Mr. UUNO Meister to the show. He's one of, I guess he would be our fourth EU guest, Troy, I think. Because we had Fabian, we had Shas, and we had Doki.
Yeah.
So, UUNO, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming on. As always, we will ask people to tell us their story and how they got involved in Rainbow Six, how they got to the point that they're at right now. So if you'd like, start us off at the beginning and take us through your journey and your entry into Rainbow Six esports.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. I started in PlayStation, as many of people know. Just played, obviously, ranked there. There was no competition really on PlayStation, and it was the 2017 Six Invitational when they got rid of the Xbox Pro League, right?
Yeah, it was 2017. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I remember we had plans with my friends on PS4 that we would buy an Xbox and try to get somewhere in there, and then they removed it and stuff, and so just stuck with PS4. And then right after my military service, I bought a PC. And I just started playing ranked, and I played a lot. I think it was like the first month, or in 1 or 2 months, I actually met Jonas. I don't remember how. I met Jonas, and we started playing ranked together almost every day. And he kind of like he was teaching me a lot how to not be a ranked hero, because I was a big ranked hero. And we played a lot. And then PENTA, back in the day, they started making the PENTA Academy team, and the main lineup players had a saying who they should pick up, and I remember it was Pengu and Jonas who said that they should pick me up, and I actually said no at the first time because I was not that interested yet to like try to get into competitive scene. I just wanted to play for fun, and maybe 1 or 2 months went by, and they got rid of that PENTA Academy lineup, and they started making a new one, and then I got asked again, and I was like, well, what the heck, let's give it a shot. And I joined the team, and I learned a lot in there. But I remember the very first scrim we had with that lineup was against the PENTA main lineup, and we got absolutely slammed. I don't think we won a single round in best of 3 or something.
You guys do better than EG?
I don't know.
Yeah, nice.
It was fun because you feel so confident as a ranked hero. Like you keep slamming pro players in ranked and stuff, and then you go play against them, and it's like a completely different world. You just,
oh yeah.
I don't know. I remember it was like that's the moment when you need to think about yourself. Like, okay, is this it, or do you work harder? And I decided like I'm gonna just work harder. I'm gonna be there one day. And we started playing with PENTA Academy. We didn't really do anything good with that team. We didn't get any like CL or anything like that. I got quite a lot of like offers. I wouldn't say offers back then because it was just like people had teams, no organizations and stuff, but people wanted me to join in their tier 3 teams and stuff, and I always said no. I kept loyal to PENTA Academy. I don't still know why. Like we were actually not doing great, but just kept in that team. And then how many months it was? Maybe 3-4 months in PENTA Academy, and then Shatte left from ENCE, and they needed a Finnish player, and they contacted me, and that's how I got into the team. It's kind of risky pickup and different story than some people might have, because I know it's hard now to pick up a ranked player straight into Pro League team, but I think it was even harder back then because people wanted really you to play in somewhere to prove yourself in Challenge League or something. So I got straight from ranked into Pro League team, and my debut was obviously the biggest tournament back in the Six Invitational. So yeah, that's how I got in. And big help from PENTA mainland guys and mainly Jonas.
So you went from PENTA Academy to the other PENTA Academy.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, which was ENCE. ENCE of course being G2's farm team for quite a while there. I remember your name being thrown around prior to you getting picked up by ENCE. I don't know if Troy also heard it, but I remember when ENCE was looking for new up-and-coming, Finnish talent, your name popped up a number of times that I remember hearing just in various conversations. I didn't really know all that much about you. The first time we met was at SI 2018 on the bus ride to group stages, if I remember correctly, and we talked a bunch.
I don't remember, but I believe you.
That was the first time I remember us chatting. But I'd heard your name around, and I'd heard that you were a big upside. And I mean, at the time, everybody was comparing people to Jonas and to Kanto. Every Finnish player are they Jonas? Are they Kanto? And a lot of people had said that you had a lot of similarities to Jonas's style of play. So that was really interesting to watch, because at the time, Jonas was still like top of Pro League before his fall off. So, so take me through PS4, because everybody that we've had on this show that started on console have all started on Xbox. I think you might be the first who started on PS4. How hard is it to grow on PS4 before you made the transition to PC? How hard was it to actually grow in that capacity? Because Xbox had Pro League, PlayStation didn't.
Yeah, well, I guess I just switched my Ranked Hero PS4 UUNO to Ranked Hero to PC. Like I said, when I first moved into PC, I didn't even think about like grinding for Pro League. I just played for Ranked. I played for fun. But I don't really know like if I really transitioned anything, to be honest.
Was there any competition on the PS4? Anything, or was it all just ranked?
It was kind of just ranked. We actually played these Finnish, I think they were Facebook tournaments on PS4. It was a wild ride. We won them, probably all of them, I think, with my friends on PS4. We were quite good on this, but obviously it's console.
Yeah.
And stuff, so.
Facebook tournaments.
Yeah,
I can only imagine that.
It was even only Finnish too. Like someone made a group in Facebook, Finnish PS4 Rainbow Six something, I don't know. And then I guess it was just to get bored of ranked at some point. So you wanted to try something else, and was like, okay. And we still had our hopes up that maybe they would give PS4 the Pro League as well, because Xbox had one back time. And obviously we didn't know anything about business and stuff. So yeah.
When you got pulled up to ENCE, it was a very pivotal season for ENCE. What pressure did you feel to compete right out the gate? Coming into what was, at this point, ENCE was on the downward slide, but I would still say that they were probably, and I don't know if Troy would agree with this, they were probably the second most respected team in terms of lineage and heritage in EU Pro League at the time, after PENTA, of course.
Yeah.
What was it like stepping onto that roster, having to compete right away in a season in which ENCE would end up fighting for their lives in relegations?
Obviously I knew how big ENCE was. They won the Pro League just before Six Invitational 2018, right?
Yep, they won season 6 in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, and I basically joined a champion team. I knew Shatte was probably the Shatte or Kanto, like that's still the question, who was the best, but Shatte was a star player, obviously, and had a big boots to fill for me. I didn't really think about it that way. I just wanted to kind of get into the scene and start improving myself and prove myself that I can compete with the big boys. After Six Invitational the season, I mean, nobody expected it to go that way. It's just, I don't know what happened. I guess we kind of, I would say we kind of got like, we stayed behind of the meta and stuff a little bit. And we played like an old style. And that's why we kept losing and then ended up getting relegated.
Mm-hmm. I think, if I'm not mistaken, at that SI, right, that was, like, Glass was a thing at the time. I'm pretty sure you guys lost to, like, a team that abused Glass, right?
They lost to PENTA in the semis.
We lost to PENTA
in the quarters.
Quarters. We
lost to never mind. Okay, never mind. You guys did get through groups. I almost thought you didn't. Yeah, never mind.
They were in the group with FaZe, if you remember.
Yeah, we lost to FaZe in groups, but then we won.
It was FaZe and then
ENCE.
Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah. They were the team that was abusing Glass in the groups, but they beat Era. I thought they beat you guys too for some reason. It was a close match though, right?
It was Era, ENCE, ENCE, and FaZe, wasn't it, in the groups? Was that the group?
Yeah. Okay. We won Era 2-0 in the first game.
And that was when Bosco made his era debut, and Super was on that team back with like my man and Gurmy.
Yeah. Okay. I remember it better now. Yeah.
What was that like? Your first event is SI 2018. At the time, by far and away, the biggest event that we ever held. And I mean, maybe not in terms of crowd size and prestige, but in terms of viewership and significance, a lot of people still consider SI 2018 to be the biggest. It's a hell of a way to make your debut, eh?
Yeah, I guess I had no choice. The timing was just before that. I remember I kind of had pressure and didn't have pressure. I had a lot of pressure when we actually got into Montreal. Like, oh shit, it's really happening. But when the game started, it's kind of like focus was on the game, and I didn't think about anything around me. I didn't think about people watching. I didn't even think about this is going to be streamed. I just played. And I had no pressure in the game at all. That's probably one of the reasons why I actually played so well, because I was able to block the pressure away and just like do me.
Sorry, my key was fucked up there. Yeah, I actually remember like being impressed. Your first event, I remember watching. For some reason, all I remember is you playing Mira.
Yeah, I played a Mira on defense a lot.
Yeah.
Because Shatte was obviously a Mira player, so I had to kind of take his role. Even though I would have preferred more an aggressive or roaming role and stuff like that with Kanto, but I didn't really want to start dictating anything when I just joined the team. You know, I just took what was given and like did my best.
Yeah, you don't want to be stepping on toes.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point, yeah, I remember it going pretty well. Sorry, Parker, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I was impressed right off the bat, and I mean we didn't really know that ENCE had already passed their glory days at this point. I mean, most of the smart money went off of ENCE when Shatte left, just because he was, as you pointed out, he was the star player, and it's for people that are not involved in the scene, they don't really know that Shatte was the big name on ENCE. Not Kanto. I mean, obviously that's changed now. Kanto moved off of ENCE. He went on to PENTA. Then PENTA became G2. And it was like Kanto just leveled up after that. And now everybody looks at it as, you know, Shatte's been bounced around for a couple teams. He hasn't exactly had the greatest seasons. He took some time off. But it's like Kanto is the big story. At the time, Kanto was seen as very inconsistent on LAN. There were entire LAN series where Kanto just would not show up at all, period. And would be almost bottom frag on the team. And that was one of the most exciting parts of Sao Paulo, was that Kanto showed up really, really big. Whereas somebody like Shatte, at the time, that was an enormous hole to fill. And I know now people that are newer fans might be thinking, oh, you know, like Shatte, they might not know how good and how well respected Shatte was way back when. And you can ask Troy too, as he played against him multiple times. Shatte was not an easy competitor to play against, and he really carried that team in a lot of events. Yeah, no,
he was, especially when he was on ENCE, like I'd say that was like his like peak performance. But like he was playing like bad roles and going off like every game.
Yeah,
like he was playing Mira, like we said, and
he had the shit roles, man.
I don't know how he went off with Mira. That didn't really make sense.
Yeah,
like Mira is not an op to get a bunch of kills with, but. No, he did.
Yeah, Shatte was the best player probably in ENCE back then, and I was impressed watching him play. Like Roy said, he played kind of like crappy operators and still made it work.
Yeah.
Still made like highlight plays.
Yeah,
it was impressive.
But yeah, that was definitely a different time. I feel like a lot of people don't really realize that, because now, like people that got in more recently, is they probably just recently only know that he joined Chaos, and then now he's not even on Chaos, but that's all they really know. But yeah, different time. But yeah, Shatte was a superstar.
Shatte's story is very interesting because he went from ENCE to PENTA in what a lot of people saw as, you know, a smart move career wise, because at the time PENTA is an outstanding team. They're unstoppable, and well, he's one of the top players in Europe, so why not put him on that squad? And then his tenure with them, like, yeah, he wins an event, but then right after SI, you know, he's unable to make it to Atlantic City in the immediate follow-up. And you know, it later comes out that through his streams and through comments that he's made, that it's just like he missed the more carefree attitude of ENCE. It was like playing with friends versus playing in as a job. And I mean, I don't blame him. And a lot of people are going to take this as a joke, but it's not. I don't know how long of a shelf life you have playing with Fabian. That's a very different style of leadership than a lot of people are used to. And some people are just not going to mesh with that style of leadership. So, you know, it didn't really surprise me that Shate got a little bit of I wouldn't say buyer's remorse, because the guy won a fucking world championship. So I don't think you can really say that. But he definitely had some hesitations to continue on with the team, right? Which is why he ended up making that change and stepping off of Penta, which is what brought Kanto in. But for you, UUNO, after SI, you don't have the run that you want. What were your expectations coming into Montreal? Did you think that you were going to be able to make a deep run? Did you even care? Had you actively thought of, hey, we could win this? Or what was the mood on the team?
I mean, I personally think that we can surprise. We can surprise people. It's not going to be easy, and I think the expectation of ENCE, because of Shate left and no one knew about me, and obviously it's a new team and stuff, are kind of lower than it would have been with Shate. But we actually had quite good scrims and stuff like with before it, and I was really confident. And when we actually got through and we played against PENTA, I remember playing a lot of scrims before SI against PENTA, and we won them a lot of times. And I was like, this is our chance, you know, like if we win this game, we win the whole tournament, you know, it's kind of the final boss. But yeah, what ended up happening, we lost.
Would have been a great rematch too, because you would have played Black Dragons.
Yeah.
If you had beaten Penta, you would have had Black Dragons, and then that would have been a rematch from the Season 6 finals, obviously, which ENCE came out on top 2-0. And then the winner of that goes on to face EG. I mean, a couple rounds, you have an entirely different storyline. Ended up getting the, you know, great match out of both you and Penta. So, I mean, at least it was exciting to watch, but I didn't think it was as close as people would have thought. But for me, my expectations of it were, I don't know how deep ENCE is going to go. I mean, they've got a relatively new player on the squad who's impressive, but it's like usually that means that you're not going to be able to do as well. So, coming out of SI, now that you've finally settled into this team, let's not look too far ahead just yet. Let's not look at the relegation matches, but you're starting to settle in on this team. Is this a point where now you're starting to change things because you were playing Shate's role? Do you have the confidence to say, I want to roam with Kanto? I want to be a bit more flexible, put me on these roles, etc.?
Honestly, I don't remember that well what happened. I remember I started getting more aggressive role and I started doing it. So maybe I said it, maybe other players said it as well. But it actually, I remember it happened. I started playing more aggressive roles, and I also started feeling more comfortable that I can actually say what I want as well. Like, can we try this at least and stuff, you know, obviously after the first couple of months in the team.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been in that. Actually, I've been in a similar situation, like when I first joined Orbit, I think. So I can relate to that. But yeah, you kind of need to build up the time. I feel like, especially for you, just coming into Pro League, it's not even like just a new team thing, but just coming into Pro League, you kind of have to take in some knowledge, learn from some people, like make sure what you're saying is actually right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, all of the 4 players in the team were Pro League players. They were veterans. I was just learning from them. But I always been the guy who is not afraid to say what I think or what I want and stuff.
Yeah.
So
roster at the time was Bonesy, Kanto, Wilkie, Panari, and you, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kanto and Panari would eventually make their departure from the team. Shate would make his return.
Not yet.
So things start to go sideways in Pro League and you just aren't having the success that you want. You said that you weren't able to adapt to the meta as much as you wanted. You got kind of stuck in the mud. And you end up in relegations. Your very first full season, you start at the Six Invitational. and then you end up in relegations. Did you blame yourself at all while you're in relegations, and then you'd eventually end up losing the relegations matchup and getting knocked out of Pro League? Did you blame yourself at all being the newest member to the team for that loss?
I didn't blame myself, but the thought came into my mind that was I not be able to fill the shot boots that well, that we actually played this bad. Obviously we had to look at some facts and talk with the team, and it was obviously we lost as a team. No one made us lose, not a single player. I think it was more we just, like I said, we got behind with the meta. We didn't keep up, and but yeah, I definitely. It was hard for me when we got relegated. I was I just got the chance. I want to prove, and then got knocked out. So it was dark times.
Yeah, I remember watching and actually thinking the same thing about the meta thing. I kind of always thought that with ENCE. It was I felt like their downfall. Yeah, I mean their downfall. I guess it obviously was from you saying it as well. But me always watching before hearing any of this or hearing it from the team, I was always watching, thinking they should be changing some of this stuff up. It was a bit too repetitive or a bit too kind of old school. So yeah, I feel that for sure. And I think that's probably an important thing to go through though, is losing because you don't because you're not keeping up with the meta, because it's a mistake that you won't let yourself make again, really.
Yeah, exactly. I remember we had talk after the relegation match, and obviously I was really very deep. We had such a big names in our team, obviously veterans that who's always been competing every single LAN event and on the top, and now going to Challenge League. Are they willing to play Challenge League, or do they want to disband? That was probably my biggest worry. That is this it? Can we see Wilkie, Bonesy, Panari and Kanto left, but can we see Wilkie and Bonesy actually wanted to even play Challenge League? But I'm glad they did, because that would have been really, really bad for me.
You end up getting knocked out by a Supremacy roster that put on, frankly, one of the worst showings we've ever seen out of a Pro League team. I think they got their win in the second last game of the season or something along those lines. It was their only win of the season. Sadly, it was a poor record that was then later matched by ENCE a couple seasons later when they come back in. Of course, you're not on the team at that time.
Yeah. But
it's a hard-fought victory for Supremacy. It's a heartbreaking loss on your end. And I just remember they after map 2, you squeezed out a victory on map 2, and I think it was Bank was the final map.
Yeah, I remember only Bank. I don't remember any other maps. I just remember the Bank. I remember the last round. It's heartbreaking.
I can't remember if I was casting that match because it was so long ago. Yeah, it was May 2018. So I can't remember if I was casting that one or if I casted the other one, which was the Oplon IDK match. But I just remember watching Bank and just I think I actually did cast I think I did cast it. But I just remember thinking to myself, because I watched it regardless, thinking oh God, not like this. Not like this. And it's one of the few times where most of the time I don't give a shit who wins. I don't care who wins matches. I don't care who wins tournaments, etc. I think there's a compelling storyline for just about every single one of them. And no slight to Supremacy. But
you cared when I won the finals.
What'd you say?
I said you cared when I won the finals. You wanted the other team to win. You wanted NIP to win.
Right, I mean, that is true. I did want NIP to win.
Gotta pick on you for that every time. Just gotta say that you casted that finals with bias. All right, carry on. Sorry.
What's funny, I got accused of bias towards SSG, so clearly I'm doing a good job of hiding it then, aren't I? I didn't see many good storylines with you getting knocked out and Supremacy winning, and it was one of those matches where I hoped to hell that you had won, ENCE had won. Now, you get relegated and you go through, as you said, that really difficult spot where do you stick together? How many Pro League teams just implode after getting pushed down to Challenger League? What was it that stuck you all together? What kept you all together as a squad to grind through it?
I think it was, we talked about that, let's make a like good story now, like Pro League champions gets relegated, then gets back to Pro League. It was kind of like let's grind now with the team and let's show everybody that we can get back, and this was just like a hiccup round. But I think that was one of the reasons, and I think everybody still wanted to compete, and people didn't have any other plans in any other team. So, I didn't.
You not think that you were all good enough to go somewhere else? Because I mean, you look at that team, the team that gets relegated. Like at the time, Panari is still in a spot where he's competing decently well with Pro League players. He hadn't fallen off just yet. Bonesi was always a little bit inconsistent, but he could be pretty clutch. Kanto was, Kanto, and Kanto would end up leaving.
Was Kanto.
Sorry?
Yeah, Kanto was Kanto.
But Kanto does end up leaving, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, obviously...
Did you not think you could have made it on another team?
That's the hard part. I need to be realistic here. I got the chance. Like, I got golden ticket that nobody else got that time to get straight into Pro League team. And then we get relegated. And we have 4 players in the team who has proven themselves. And I don't think I really got my chance to prove myself. Even though I played well on the Six Invitational and I played decently on that season, I don't think I had enough time to prove myself. And that's why I was so worried that was this, like, I got the chance and now it gets taken away if everybody leaves or if it disbanded. I personally didn't believe that I would have gotten at least a Pro League offer. Maybe a Challenger League offer, who knows? But I don't think I would have gotten a Pro League team offer.
You didn't get an offer, just to confirm?
What?
You didn't get an offer?
No. People keep saying that there were rumors that I got some offer. I don't even remember. Was it Orkles or something? But that, at least my DMs, I didn't see anything.
Yeah. You go down into Challenger League, and for those that look back on Challenger League, that was a absolutely stacked season of CL. So,
yeah.
you have you down there. Kanto leaves, Panari leaves, you pick up Gomfi and you pick up Shate. Shate comes back.
No. Shate didn't come back yet. Shate came back in the middle of Challenger League season.
Right.
We picked up Gomfi and Blas.
That's right. Right. Shate comes back because he took... Shate was on a break. He was gone for like half a year.
Something like along those lines, 4 to 6 months. I don't remember exactly.
Yeah. Down there, you also have Empire. So Empire is also in Challenger League that season. This is the start of Empire. For those that are paying attention. This was before they got picked up by Empire. They were originally Room Factory, and then what were they before, or what were they after Room Factory?
They were...
I forget.
What was their name?
That's weird name.
Identity.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Or Identity.
Identity was what they went by, I think, when they were in CCS, if I remember correctly. And then, of course, they got picked up by Empire, and they looked absolutely unstoppable. You also had that Polish roster down below that had Kendra on it, if you remember, in saves. That was the old Calypso roster that became Pact. Other people that were playing down there, you had Para, Yogurts, and Falco that were down there. Chaoxys, Jock, Spoken were down there. Those guys were in Pro League for quite a while. You had
their Italian team.
Yeah, you had Endgaming, the Italian team, which had Elation and Peak. You also had Overtime and 3D Max, who didn't have the same pedigree, but that was we look back now on how competitive EUCL is, and it always has been, but that season of EUCL is just, it's really something.
Yeah. I agree. It was a tough season.
And you finished second.
Yeah.
Despite that competition.
Right after Empire.
And it's not even close. Like you finished second by quite a ways. I mean, Empire blew everybody out of the water. Empire lost a single match. They went 13-0-1.
I think they lost one for forfeit or something, right?
Let me take a look here.
I don't remember.
I think there was...
Yes, they forfeited against End Gaming. That was their only loss.
Some guy was at work or something and couldn't get back. Yeah. I don't remember how it went, but it was funny.
Yeah. That is a crazy season of Challenger League. And I mean, as expected, Empire blows everybody out of the water. They crush End Gaming. They go into the finals. You play against Train Hard, which is that packed roster.
Oh, yeah.
And you beat them, and then you play against Empire, but you know that at that point, you're going to be in relegations.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to play again? I mean, Supremacy finished dead last. Obviously, they're the easiest team to beat in Pro League that season. You ended up playing Vitality. Did you want to play Supremacy just for the rematch, irrespective of the fact that it would have been easier, or did you care?
I didn't want to play them for the rematch. I wanted to play them because they were actually, I'm gonna be honest, they were kind of dog shit. So obviously, I wanted to take easier way into Pro League. I mean, who wouldn't?
Yeah. I would want it for both, you know? Easier match and the rematch.
I don't think I even thought about it as a rematch back then. Maybe I forgot that they actually knocked me out, but
I guess, yeah. I will say, I guess, like, I feel like from the sounds of it, you guys felt like you, like, knocked yourselves out of Pro League in a sense.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Right? You didn't really think of it as that, as, like, I mean, like, obviously they beat you guys, but, like, you guys did, you feel like you did the damage to yourselves. So,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that.
It's easy to chalk up a tough loss as us losing to ourselves.
Yeah, but I'm saying not necessarily that. Like, it's different when it's like a tough, close loss, but like when you fall like that far down, you know what I mean? Like when you were at the, like near the top and then you fall all the way down to relegations, lose your relegations, like you clearly did a lot wrong to get them, right?
Yeah, I mean, as UUNO put it,
that's not
they
just
went from
everyone
champions.
Else good.
They finished top 8 at SI. They get knocked out by PENTA in what he called the final boss, and then you finish really poorly in EU, Pro League season 7, and you go down into relegations.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's not just losing to yourself at that point. I mean, the relegation match might be.
No.
But
okay.
I know what you're saying.
Okay.
I know what you're saying. So you end up playing Vitality. You've had a good Challenger League run. How are you settling in during Challenger League? Because this is really, you had your full crack at Pro League. Obviously with Challenger League, the pressure was it the same, but different? Because now you're fighting to stay relevant and get back into Pro League versus being in Pro League and having to fight those expectations?
I was hungry. I don't know if there was anyone more hungry than me to get back into Pro League because, like I said, I didn't believe that I would get any other offers. So that was kind of my chance, like if you didn't get back to Pro League, I personally thought that my career would be over. Even though I played really good season, maybe someone would have picked me up even if you didn't get into that. That was my thought process, and I was like, now let's give it all. But I don't know. There was a lot of pressure in that season for me personally.
How much did the pressure play in when you had to fight against Vitality for that spot back into Pro League?
Not at all, actually. Like that's the funny part. I've always had in a big games that I don't really feel the pressure. I remember because there is one thing I remember from that match, and it's only the final round. And it was a crazy round. I remember like we made such a risky plays because we didn't feel the pressure because I was obviously calling. I was an IGLing in ENCE back then already. And I remember I was the first entry IGL, and I was saying like somewhere along the lines, it was Border, I think, and it was me and Confi, and I told Confi that just follow me. I'm gonna go in balls deep with ass, and you just pick up everything what I leave behind. And we went and we took 4 guys alone, me and Confi, in matter of probably 15 seconds we died, and it was 5-1. And if we win that round, we get back to Pro League. And when I was dead, I saw the scoreboard. And I was like, holy smokes, if we win this 4v1 now, we get like promoted. And like that's when it was like really tense. And then obviously we won it and got promoted.
Would you say at that point that's the highest moment of your career?
At that point, yeah. Yeah, it felt amazing because you fought all the way through Challenge League. So yeah, it felt amazing.
We knock Challenger League in North America quite a bit because a lot of the NACL teams don't play as seriously as they could, which is often in stark contrast to what we see in Europe. Whereas in Europe, it feels like European Challenger League could be a pro league in its own regard. What did you learn down in Challenger League with the roster changes that ENCE made, knowing that the pressures and expectations were different, and now that you'd had a full season previously playing in Pro League under your belt, did Challenger League help your development at all? Did you find yourself learning and growing at the same speed at which you did when you were in Pro League?
I mean, I think me personally playing that Challenger League season is probably the biggest, like, how would you say, without that Challenger League season, I don't think I would have ever improved as much as I did back then. I think it was a good, like, hit in the face that you need to work for it, because obviously I got the golden ticket, but then I lost it, so I had to grind. And as a player personally, I think I learned the most in that Challenger League, and I found kind of like my style of game. And every single day I kept learning from those veterans in my team. But I think that's personally, it's the biggest thing. One of the best things that has happened to me in my career was that I had to play the Challenger League.
Yeah, I feel like I could see that you figured out your style there. Like,
yeah.
I feel like I could notice that from watching. Because, I mean, obviously it was evident that, like, you started to IGL the team more, and that, like, the style of that team changed. But, I mean, like, in order to have your own style of IGLing, like, you have to be kind of confident, and, like, you have to be cemented in the style that you've, like, as an individual as well at that point, right? Like, if you're going to be calling it, like, you have to believe in it in the first place. So, yeah, you kind of have to. Yeah, it takes a while to get there. Like, you don't just join a team and you're like, well, this is my first Pro League game, and, like, I know exactly how I want to play the game. Like, that doesn't happen yet. It takes a bit. Yeah.
It was a really important season for me, personally.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's one thing that we've harped on an awful lot, is that Challenger League, when taken seriously, can be the most invaluable tool that younger players have, but you get out of it what you put into it. And, you know, when you've got teams that kind of assemble themselves last minute and then don't really try, and, you know, we've had numerous seasons of NACL where, like, the bottom 2, 3, 4 teams just stop trying after like 4 games.
I feel like the biggest thing in NACL is, like, it's more so an individual, like, proving grounds than
I agree with that.
Than, like, making it as a team. You know what I mean? Like that story UUNO had, like, for making it as a team, like, it's literally completely opposite to, like for example, like, OC, which was, like, the team with Fultz and Merck. Like, they did really well in their Challenger League season, but, like, they didn't, like, Fultz joined our team after, well, he joined SSG after, and then I joined. But, like, the way he talks about OC at the time, like, they weren't a team. They were just, like, good players playing the game together. Right? And he was like he literally jokes about it, that he would join the team, and, like, we had, like, exact call-outs, like, in the armory on Clubhouse, and he'd be like, well, we just called that basement. Like,
oh boy.
Right? Like, so, like, it's completely different. I mean, that's an exaggeration, but NA Challenger League is definitely a lot more of a proving grounds. I think there's some exceptions for sure. There's definitely some teams that play, like, the game really well as a team, and I think it's improving, but it's definitely always been more individual kind of proving grounds in that sense.
Play well, get picked up, basically.
Yeah.
To be honest, I can see that. I haven't ever really followed NACL, but
You're not missing
Still.
much.
yeah, I can see that because I always, when I saw these like Merck, Foltz, whoever else who got through there, I never saw them playing in, like, I don't know what team they played in. If the team would have been like actually good and grinding and getting as a team, I probably would have known that. But that's why I believe that it, like Troy said, it's more like their own playing ground. Like, play well, you get picked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Super talks about it a lot, and it's really funny because, I mean, he's like, stats matter, get your kills, fuck your team, like, blah, blah, you're playing for a spot in the future, is what Super says. I mean,
Yeah.
I think there's value to both ends of it. I mean, you can't deny looking back on Challenger League and seeing certain players get scooped up, and players that were underage that couldn't even play in CL, that just played for them, I don't want to say play for themselves, but played more selfish roles.
Yeah.
And they get picked up. And you know what? Fine. Merck and Foltz are still two relative rookies. A lot of people would still consider them that. Bolo got picked up. Obviously, he comes from a different origin than all the other amateurs seen. NJR and Iconic have now been picked up, and rumors suggest that there might be more rookies on the way getting picked up as well. And there's nothing wrong with that, because you could now form a full team of rookies in the US division. And I think that team would compete. So maybe you don't need the team to work together as well as you'd like, but I will say that from a league standpoint, I watched a lot of EUCL. I almost never watched NACL. And the reason for that is that just there were games that sucked. There were teams that sucked. They don't take it seriously. And for me, it's like, I want to invest in teams and orgs that are going to stick around and actually take it seriously. And I would argue that the EU model has produced far more reliable players than NA has. You've got full teams coming up. I mean, Na'Vi went from Challenger League. These guys had never sniffed Pro League. Empire never sniffed Pro League. You get these whole teams that come up, and not only do you have one or two good players on the team, but you have an entire team worth of world beaters that can win championships.
I think part of that is language barriers as well, in a sense. Like Empire, for example, like in a lot of cases, like they weren't gonna go anywhere else really, like they had to make it as a team, because like there was no Russian Pro League team.
Yeah.
There was four French Pro League teams when I started casting, by the way. 4 full French Pro League teams.
Things have changed a bit now, right? Like there's more international teams with that just speak English.
Yep.
But like even ENCE at the time, it was Finnish, right? Like, I think that plays into it as well, because it's like we have to make it as a team, because like there's only these select teams that speak English, so like that's the only team we can get picked up by, and like how realistic is it that we could get picked up by that team? So that kind of changes things. But I think it's for the best to like go through it as a team. I prefer that, but yeah.
Yep.
That's the thing that Europe's always had to deal with, though, is that language barrier. I mean, you see it in ranked. I lived in Poland for 3 years. It doesn't matter what level I played at in ranked. There's an 80% likelihood that you're going to have at least one person on your team, no matter what rank you're at, that just cannot communicate in English.
Yeah.
Some games, there'd be 4 people in the game and none of them could speak English. And they weren't always together. And that's tough. And I think that part of that makes you have to be a better player, because you can't rely on your teammates as well. But at the same time, I also think it leads to less predictability. And it really changes the layout of how pro teams form. We've gone more of the CSGO League of Legends model now, even Dota, where we've been established long enough that geographical boundaries don't really matter that much. Borders aren't stopping teams from forming.
Mm-hmm.
When I started in season 6, you had PENTA, who at the time, with the exception of, I think it was Snook and Nose, were the only 2 teams that commed in English. Because then you had ENCE, who commed in Finnish.
Yeah.
You had B Genius, which was the team that Shaiko was on. You had Be Genius, you had Ares, you had Millennium, and you had Supremacy, and all 4 of them were in French. And then you had Mysterious Monkeys, which was German.
Yeah.
So you've got six of the 8 Pro League teams in Season 6 didn't speak in English. Could they have? Maybe some of the players could have. But I mean, even look at somebody like Rise. Rise is now on Vitality. His English is great. I remember trying to have a conversation with Rise at the Paris Major, which is summer of 2018, and he was really struggling in English. He's come a long way. But 2017, you know, it was a totally different world. What did you say?
Yeah, I remember when I started teaming with Rise, I had a hard time understanding not only Rise, but overall French accent. And at the same time, they told me that they had hard time understanding the Finnish accent. So
I could only imagine. Oh my god, if I had to team with
what Shate says.
That's what I was about to say. Is like if I ever had to team with Shate, it just would not be good. I vividly remember we played like Bank and Ranked one time, and he was saying that he wanted to spawn jewelry and rush through the sewer to server, and he goes, "Let's spawn jewelry to go through the sewer to the server." And I was like, "The fuck? The where to the where? What?" And he kept on fucking saying it. I was like, "The fuck are you on about?" I spawned like back alley or something. I didn't follow him up.
I think one of the best things about Chatta is that he doesn't even try to like improve his accent. He's proud.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been trying, but it's so hard for me, so I've been kind of giving it up as well. But I have to say, Chatte and like Panari, they had one of the strongest Finnish accents I've ever heard. Yeah. And I can only imagine when he's trying, because that, like you said, jewelry is one of the hardest words for me, for example, to say.
Mm. So it's hard for us as well. Don't worry.
Yeah.
I miss Panari's streams. I went back the other night.
Oh my god, yes.
Dude, I went back the other night because I wasn't having the greatest night. I went back and I rewatched a bunch of his clips, and the joystick, he is Soviet super soldiers.
Yes.
I was dying laughing.
I feel like current Sonics fans probably don't even know about like the Sleb and Superpower player thing.
Yeah,
either.
The Superpower player, yeah.
Yeah,
if you're a Sonics fan, like you got to watch that.
For people who don't understand who Panari is, he used to do cooking streams where he just set up his webcam in his kitchen, and he would disappear for like 5 minutes, and you have no idea where he went. Like he wouldn't even say anything. He'd just be cooking, and he'd be like, "Oh," and then literally just walk away, and you'd be like,
and then he'd come back. "I'm back, boys."
He'd come back with a recorder, or he'd come back with a guitar, and he'd just start playing music. He played Despacito on the recorder, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He came back and he started playing Despacito in his kitchen while he was making waffles or whatever. Man, I miss Panari's streams so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the best teammates I had, because it's sometimes it even felt like he doesn't care. He just came in and had fun, and like he made others to smile, you know, like he can start. I can't even like say all the things on stream, but he can start singing like really inappropriate things in mid scream or something, and it was just like, I don't know. I remember it was Consulate. We were screaming Consulate, and he was playing Mira on basement or something, and his reinforcement was to reinforce the main carriage wall. He was somewhere singing, and the wall was not reinforced. We were like, Panari, and he was like, "Oh shit, I forgot," or something. He didn't put a single mirror window down. He was just trolling, dude. I swear to God. But it was fun.
Yeah, I could imagine there'd be some fun times. Like just from the events I've been to, like I would hang out with like him and Shate at events and just some good times.
That old ENCE team was some of the best people to hang out with in the community. Wilkie in particular. Wilkie might not have been as openly funny as Panari and Shate, but Wilkie was like a grounded, wise presence, and I was really lucky to get to work with him as well. When he briefly flirted with the idea of being an analyst on the desk. And I don't have anything bad to say about any of that ENCE team. You know, there's a reason why the old fans still, you know, harken back to those ENCE days so much. Yeah. Just so many people, ENCE winning Sao Paulo is one of, in their opinions, the best moments in our esports history. So,
Yeah.
you know, and I think that really goes to show you the love and care that people had for that roster. It was just a bunch of lovable goofs. And they also happen to be quite good at the game. And it really helped that they could bounce off of PENTA, who were seen as the dickhead villains at the time. Right? You've got Fabian as like the evil mastermind, the super villain. And then you've got Pengu, who a lot of people don't like for various reasons. You've got that whole like arrogance, cold PENTA are the hardened killers. And then you got like the happy-go-lucky ENCE next to them, who are good. Maybe not PENTA's level, but they're still quite good. And people can then say, oh, I like them. So I don't know if ENCE is as well loved if there isn't PENTA, because if PENTA doesn't exist, ENCE was the second most dominant team in the region. I wonder if PENTA doesn't exist, if a lot of that animosity towards PENTA being the best goes on to ENCE. But I mean, that's an entirely different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I'm really lucky that I was able to play with a player like Wilkie, because obviously when I started leading, I took kind of the IGL leading role after we started playing in Challenger League, because I was bringing the more aggressive play. I was trying to get back into the meta to us, but Wilkie is probably one of the most important players that I've learned leading at the same time as playing playstyle, because my playstyle was such a like aggressive at peaking. I probably have the most spawn peaks in Pro League and stuff, because I used to do it every single round, no matter what the game was and stuff. Not doing that anymore that much, but I remember I was learning the opposite playstyle from Wilkie, as well as I was learning a lot about esports from him, and I was learning the leading. So definitely the praise goes to Wilkie, that I was lucky that I was able to play with a guy like that.
Yeah. I haven't been able to like learn alongside someone in terms of leadership like that, because I've always been like the IGL on my team, but like I've looked to like other players, whether it's from within Siege or like other games. So like I can relate to that, and like finding kind of a balance in your play style, because I used to be similar, where I felt like the comparison I always made on EG at least was that I would learn a bit from Geo and BC, because they were like complete opposites. Like Geo was more like you, where it was like straight ranked, like crazy, like, and very loose. And then BC was like perfect, robotic, methodical Siege. And then like I was just trying to find the balance, basically. So I could see that be valuable. And I mean, just from talking to Wilkie, like he's, like Parker said, just like a great, grounded, wise guy. Like you could learn a lot from him.
Definitely.
Everybody could. Doesn't matter if you're a player or not.
Yeah.
So you make that run, you get back into Pro League. Redemption,
woohoo.
and then you have a dreadful season. You get picked up by Mouse Sports.
No, I wasn't in that team.
You weren't on the team at the time. The team gets picked up by Mouse Sports. The moment that the team makes it back into Pro League, what do you do?
Yeah, well, this is the part I haven't really talked a lot. We don't really need to go that much back, but during Paris Major, when I was there as a spectator, I remember Millennium, the team I ended up joining, that is LeStream, offered me a spot back there already. When they picked up Aces, they offered me to join as well. And let's just say that the deal didn't go through. I stuck with ENCE, and I put my full focus on it. We got back. When we finished the season, get into the playoffs / relegation, so you're going to call it, in Challenger League.
Yeah.
I got the offer already from Millennium LeStream, no matter if you get back or no. And I remember I said back that I'm not going to focus on this now. Let me get back to you after the relegations. My full focus is on this team now. And they said, fair enough. Once we played the relegations, we got back into Pro League with ENCE. I was honest and I said, I need a few weeks to think about it. Because obviously you put your everything to the team. You actually do what you wanted to do with it to get back into Pro League. the redemption, like you say. And I end up taking the offer from LeStream simply because I had to wait the options, ENCE and LeStream, and see what team I see better in the future, like what I see more potential. And I'm not gonna like this. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I saw more potential with the LeStream lineup. So I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And I wanted to go into that team, and yeah, I ended up leaving.
Looking back on it, do you have any regrets with that decision?
No.
What did you find was the biggest difference between LeStream and ENCE after you got settled in at LSE?
I think LSE had a different kind of playstyle, different kind of players. I believe what people called us was like the second super team or whatever they call or something like that in the EU. And I just saw so many talented, good players. Like, for example, Higgs was the main IGL in that team, and I didn't join the team as an IGL. Yeah, I kept shot calling in the team. But I also saw in my side that, okay, if I have to IGL in the future, I can learn from Higgs, and I can tell you Higgs has been one of the best guys to learn IGLing as well as Wilkie was.
Yeah.
And later on Fabian, obviously. But
that's actually something I want to touch on, because I feel like he's a player that's like never gotten credit for IGLing. Like, it's always been, people like know he's a support player, but people don't realize he's an IGL. And I've actually, like, from players that have played with him, from coaches that have worked with him, and like from talking to himself, literally like haven't heard a bad thing. When I talk to him, like, he literally, like, I can tell he knows what he's talking about and like has a good head on his shoulders.
He was always ready to give calls. He was always ready to have an idea. He never like joked that he didn't know what to do, even though there was a log. I remember one of the biggest things I learned from him was actually in prep phase, how he ended up spectating everybody else's drone rather than his, and saying, hey, you go put your drone there, you go put your drone there, so we have all the drones ready. And that was probably our biggest strength as a LeStream, why we kept playing so well online, because we had a really good drone network. We had really good info at the start of the round where there's weaknesses, and we had flank drones ready. And that was all Higgs. He kept saying in prep phase, like, you put your drone there, you try to get your drone there. Or when he had someone, he went like through the drones middle of the round and said, like, you need to move your drone there now and stuff like that. And that wasn't happening in ENCE back then. So that was probably the biggest thing I learned from that guy. And just the fact that he was always ready with an option how to play the round.
This is an interesting case because I mean, I feel like the things that people remember from Hicks are the choke that he did with Valkyrie. That's the big one. On the stairs
one on Cafe.
The one on
It's
Cafe.
kind of 50-50. It's kind of 50-50 because I see the idea what he was trying to do. He was trying to do kind of a CS type of a play, you know, where you'd have the trigger discipline and you want to like follow him. I can respect that because I like plays like that. Obviously, the position with the Lion that he was basically on Shutter's line of sight was not the best, but I can see the idea behind it. And if Shutter would have not seen him, it would have been a big play because he was actually flanking 3 guys. I think there were like a few guys ahead of Shutter.
Yeah.
But people see it as a joke now because it didn't work, but people would see it as one of the best plays ever if he actually worked. So that's kind of 50-50.
It's a risky, it's just a risk.
I mean, I wasn't saying it to dunk on him. I was saying it more as in like, I feel like people like to poke fun at that, and that's their greatest memory of Hicks, right? Like, people don't often give the credit to Hicks for his IGLing. I also think part of that is that the team never really had any substantial success at big events.
Only online.
LSE won a whole whack of small events, but like never anything big, you know, and Not only did LSE not win big events, they spectacularly bombed out of big events. Like, come into SI 2019, and you were what, the second team sent home or something like that. Like, it's nuts. And then the same thing happens at Milan, and you know, then we just saw it with the same rogue team, same lineage, We just saw it at the mini major. They come in first overall in Europe. They go out first team out of the mini major.
That's
obviously Hicks isn't on that team now, but I do think that Hicks does wear some of the team's failures as IGL. I think rightly or wrongly, the IGL tends to get a lot of flack.
Yeah.
When shit goes wrong.
That's an interesting topic because I still till this day don't know what is the reason why that team never does well on LAN.
I don't think
honestly,
I
have no idea. Like I was in the team for 2 LANs, Milan and Six Invitational, where we got basically first rounded or second round, whatever. And I have no idea why.
What was it
because
when you were on the team?
I don't know. Like I felt like we played the same confidence. Maybe we didn't, but it felt like it, and it just didn't work. And that's the big question that I still keep asking. Like when I even look at back at them when they went to Japan, they got first rounded, right? When I was not obviously in the team anymore and stuff, and it just kept happening and happening and happening. And I was like, I'm thinking like, why? Like you can look at the team and the players they have the potential to win, and it's they keep choking. I don't know what it is.
That was the road team, or they were the Giants team technically at the time. They lost to the team that would later become the Giants.
Even now, this EUL online major, obviously it's online, so I mean, I'm not gonna be honest. The odds was on their favor, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I don't know who was voted as the biggest favorite. Was it them or us? Obviously, I think it was either us or them.
Mm-hmm.
But we saw happening again. They lost 2 games straight, right? I don't know why. I don't think they know why. And that's the biggest obstacle they need to get past, is because they are proven themselves that they can play online. Like if I was in the team, I would just focus on what the hell is going wrong when we actually get into the games that matter.
Yeah, that one didn't really make sense to me because it was online.
Yeah.
For me, so, I always thought it was different on LAN.
That's why DZ won, right, Troy?
I've talked that one over too many times. I'll let them rock, man. But what I was gonna say is, you touched on it, like you said, you felt like you guys brought the same confidence, but it didn't work. And this was like a theory. Like I don't know if it was actually true, but to me, like it was a very aggressive team with like lots of peeking, and I feel like the peeking isn't as strong on LAN, so like you would just lose some gun. Like it wasn't like you were just like getting blown away in all the gunfights or something, but it was just like some of the gunfights that you would normally probably win online from peeking, you wouldn't, and then it would fall the other way. But like I don't know, like for example, SI 2019 against us, like you guys, it felt like you guys played good against us. It was just, I think once we came back against you guys on Villa, it was like mentally,
we lost the game in Villa already.
Like it was almost like you guys lost the event there. To me,
maybe actually, yeah,
right. Like it was too hard to come back from that mentally. But like that map, like you guys were fucking dominating us, and like we couldn't do anything. And then I remember that was the one time on EG, Geo ended up IGLing. Like I was like 1-10 or something. I was getting destroyed, and then we were like, fuck it. And Geo's like, Troy, pick whatever you want, do whatever you want. And then he IGL'd the other 4 or the other 3. And I just did whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know. It worked. But yeah.
Definitely, I think you're right. Us losing that, I think it was 6-2 lead on Villa.
And it was going into defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we lost it, and I think that's where we lost the game, at least, like the series against you guys. I don't think there was, I don't even remember what the second map was anymore.
It was Oregon.
Yeah, well, I guess that went down as well. But yeah, I think that actually got into our heads.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But overall, like Milan and the others and stuff, I still don't know.
Yeah.
The other differences. I don't really know. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, I was just agreeing. Yeah, I don't really know about the other events. But I know from that one just because I felt like I was there, like playing against you guys, so I could notice more. But that's how I felt it happen. Yeah.
One of the big differences between LSC and ENCE was that you had spent most of your time at this point in your career You had spent most of your time on teams that got along well. They were friends. They'd been, brought together by either a common culture or language, etc. Now you're stepping onto a team that, as the Rainbow Six community loves to do, dubbed it a super team. I feel like we're at the point now where every team is a super team. And now we're going to need like an omega super team to try and like set it apart. But we'll get there eventually. How did you feel the team functioned with LeStream versus ENCE? Was ENCE more of a community, democratic, bunch of friends making strats with Wilkie being the leader versus LSE being a bunch of mercenaries that were all kind of uniting for the purpose of winning? Was there a difference in tone at all?
I think what I saw was, like you said, like more like friends doing strats and stuff. But I think what I saw in LeStream was the passion and like actually putting time to work. Like I feel like we worked much more in LeStream than I did in ENCE. Just like completely different world. And I think that's one of the reasons why we were so much better than ENCE in that Pro League season. And I saw that, okay, this is the team. I'm happier now because like I can see that everybody has the will to work for something,
Yeah.
And we were doing strats together, and like everybody contribute their own and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would make sense to me. Just like more hunger. And
yeah, definitely.
Everyone's putting in more. So yeah, like it sounds like your time on ENCE was still productive. Like you learned a lot from them, but it wasn't like as productive for you guys as a team. Like you learned a lot as a player and like as an IGL, but you guys weren't as productive as a team, I'd say.
Yeah,
it seems like
it's kind of like, if you want to think about it, it was like I went from ENCE to a professional team. It felt like that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you like it as much? Because you say you don't you don't regret leaving ENCE at all. But did you like the vibe and the feeling of being on LSE?
Oh yeah, I did. Because I honestly, when we started having success online and stuff, I started saying like this could be now like we are contenders for G2, or well, back then it was even Empire as well. And I saw that we have the hunger to work for it. And I loved it.
Now, I imagine that hunger peaked after LSE because you end up once again making another move. But for LeStream, let's look at your record right now here for LeStream. So you come into SI, you lose right away to PENTA. You go home with very little money, very little prestige.
Basically, we didn't even go to that event. We can skip that.
Yeah, you guys didn't even go. That's crazy. You win Gamers Assembly. You win the qualifier to go to the Allied Esports Major, Allied Esports Minor. But then, right after Milan, which once again, you get knocked out of Milan first, you end up jumping ship. Now, up until this point, you had never been with a team for more than 6 to 7 months. You go to G2.
Was it ENCE like not 10 months?
Was it 10 months with ENCE? I thought it was only like 7 or 8 months with ENCE.
It was 10 or 11 or something like that, yeah.
Could be. I could be doing my math wrong. Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, no, you're right. It was actually almost a year. It was 11 months with ENCE.
Yeah.
So you jump ship and you go to G2. How does this come to be? Did you know that by being on ENCE that you at some point would have to go to G2 as is required in Rainbow Six Pro League? Did you know that was when you signed the ENCE contract, there was also the second PENTA G2 contract behind it? Or...
No, obviously you don't know that. It was for me, actually, like this is kind of where I'm kind of different. I was in PENTA Academy. And like I said, when we got absolutely slammed by them, like I said, one day I'm going to be there. It was what I meant. One day I'm going to play in that team. And even though when I was in LeStream, and we started doing good results and good progression as the team, not on LAN, we don't talk about LANs, but overall, it's kind of like, okay, if that opportunity doesn't happen, I'm happy here. Like, this is where we can kind of like make our mark. And at the same time, when it was always back in my head that I feel I'm getting the chance from G2 at some point, I never really like focused on it, you know. But I still kind of had it, like that was my main goal that I wanted to work for. I always wanted to play with these guys, and funny enough, I always wanted to play with UUNO, so it feels bad that I actually took his spot, but sometimes you need to think about yourself more than your friends, so.
Jonas is one of my favorite people in the community. I'm bummed that he left.
Yeah.
Also, everybody that's in chat right now, I told them to spam the Finnish flag or Finland, and they've all just started spamming Winland instead. So go ahead.
Yeah, that was the meme back in the day.
Yes.
If you want to win, hire a Finn.
Yeah. So you land on G2 at a very interesting time because your first event, as in keeping with ENCE, you love doing this. You love joining these teams right before huge events. You come to ENCE and you have to play SI 2018. You join G2 and your first event is the Six Major in Raleigh.
In my defense, I don't choose the times when they offer me, so.
I'm not blaming you.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming you. I'm just saying it's a funny pattern.
It is.
How much prep time did you have to get ready for the Raleigh Major with G2?
Enough. We still played the first half of the online pro league, right?
Yeah.
So more than enough.
You're muted, by the way, Troy.
Nice. I keep doing that today. I was just saying, yeah. I was agreeing that you guys played half a season. Anyways, carry on.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
You felt that was enough to go into a major with?
Yeah.
Did you notice any immediate differences with G2 over LeStream?
Well, obviously, I think everybody knows about the work Shaz and Suo does behind the scenes. I'm not saying like Rappel or in ENCE. We had actually Suo back in the day as well, and Protax, that they didn't do an amazing job, but I think it's just the next level of the preparation with the support staff. And yeah, obviously organization, going from LeStream to big organization like G2, I saw a difference in there. And then I think it was just me trying to learn again from the players that back then were the best players in the world. It was just me going in and trying to soak everything again inside.
I don't think you can really hold a candle to the coaching staff of G2 when comparing it to others. You know, I think there's a reason why the gold standard in Rainbow Six has been Shas, and now through extension Sua joining him. And I think that Shas was always the secret weapon of that team. I mean, obviously you had a very capable roster, which at one point I think you could have made a very credible argument that 4, if not 5 of the best players on the planet were all on the same team with G2. And then you have Shas as well backing them up. And I mean, regardless of the talent, because I think Fabian was always kind of the odd man out when it came to in-game talent. I think he's a good player. I just don't think he could match the rest of the team. He made up for that with his IGLing, right?
Yeah.
How did you find his IGLing differently when you joined that team versus LeStream? Because you did take a bit of a leadership role with G2 when you joined, if I remember correctly.
Well, not at the beginning that much, no. At the beginning, I was just kind of like, again, trying to learn, soaking everything in, enjoying that I don't have to think about that leading too much. But I mean, Fabian, there is a reason why people think Fabian is one of the best IGLs that has ever been in this game. And I don't know how Fabian was more aggressive IGL than, like, for example, Higgs was. He was more like opportunistic, seeing the weakness fast and saying like, hey, there is a weakness, let's take it fast and stuff like that, than Wilkie or Higgs was. it's definitely something like I took from him, was that trying to find the weakness fast, trying to call that there you can enter easily there, and like I don't know, Fabian there is a lot of different ways that he IGLs. There can be setup plays, there can be rushes, there can be everything. It's one of the best IGLs I ever had. I ever worked with.
That was my follow-up question for you, was given the fact that you've worked with such a wide variety of IGLing, did you have a preference? And if so, do you think Fabian's IGLing really lives up to all of the hype that people give it?
It does live up to all of the hype, and there's nothing to take away from him. But if I don't know who would I pick if I had to prefer one, because I see myself being closer to Fabian kind of style of IGLing than, for example, what Hicks was. So I would say if you could have Hicks and Fabian kind of style shot callers in the team, that would bring the like different ideas all the time, would be probably better.
That makes sense. Yeah, I don't know. I always notice that with Fabian as well, that just very different style. I think that was I always thought it was one of the biggest strengths of G2, obviously. Teamwork and how good the players were was huge. Yeah. But for me, playing against them, like when we played against them when I was on EG all the time, it was just like any other team I didn't have as much difficulty calling against, but them it was harder to read because it was like a variation of styles in a sense. Like you said, where it was like those
really
quick,
good at adapting.
Yeah. Those quick, like opportunistic calls, but also like some things that were just planned out from the get-go, just like an execute from the start of the round that you already knew you were doing.
Exactly.
Yeah. Whereas like almost every other team like I've played against, it's a lot more predictable, where if I know how they play, like they just stick with that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's obviously one of the big things as well is that if we played a round or two, Fabian was able to already kind of read how the enemy plays and call some kind of adaptation to it. If it's in defense, he could call like, hey, let's put UUNO and Kanto go run around that area, slow them down, or like try to get kills and stuff like that. And that was one of the biggest like reasons why I think Fabian has been like the best IGL in the scene, is that he can read the enemy mid game really well and he can adapt.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of IGLing yourself now, and you've grown into that leadership role. But which of the IGLs do you think you've borrowed most from, if you had to say? Or is this a situation where you've just tried to be yourself and add a fourth essential style of IGLing after Fabian, Hicks, and Wilkie?
I definitely want to be myself. I'm not going to leave my own.
You don't want to be Fabian? That's weird. But everybody did.
No. I mean, yeah, let's not go into that one. But if I have to say who I borrowed the most, was Fabian. My style is the closest to Fabian's style. But I'm obviously trying to make my own style. I think I learned the most from Fabian how to read the game. I definitely became much more smarter player when I played with Fabian, and smarter how to read the enemy. And that's probably my biggest strength at the moment, that I started to learn and see mid-game things that I remember before I was playing with Fabian, no one really in the team saw. Like weaknesses and strengths of the enemy.
Yeah, makes sense.
Do you have any help after Fabian left the team? And I mean, this is a conversation that we'll get to in just a bit. But how much help have you had learning IGLing since he left? Is this a role that you share? Because Fabian was very open about how when he was on the team, there was no dedicated IGL. He said everybody would make calls. This runs semi-counter to what other teammates of his has said, so I'm curious your position on that.
Fabian, no matter what he says, I don't know why he said that, because he was still the IGL. He was always the guy who called at the start of the round, except if, for example, at the later on G2, I started taking more leading role as well. If I or Pengu said something that, hey, if we saw something in our drone that he didn't see or something, obviously we can call like, hey, there is a blah, blah, blah and stuff like that. And Fabian would always say, okay, let's do that. He would never say no. He would always give room to others. But after Fabian left and we didn't really set an IGL. It was kind of me and Pengu. It has come more towards me now. At least at the start of the round, Pengu is more of a shot caller than IGL. I have to say I haven't gotten that much help. No, I needed to start learning it myself now, and I needed to start remembering that it's kind of on my responsibility to call every round. Like I can't just be silent unless someone else has an idea. And so it was something that what was hard for me at the beginning when we took Ben and Jake to the team was obviously I was always seen as like a fragger player, like impactful, I can make plays and stuff. And now I have to think about so much about the team and how we play that I kind of forgot to focus on my own game.
Yeah.
Kind of forgot that. And that's why I think I started doing poor results on my own side. And that's the thing I kick the most right now. And I'm like, after this season, I said that I've learned more and more all the time from my own self, and still with some help, but mostly from myself, how to lead. So I can start now kind of like 50-50 that I can just lead, and I can start also now playing my own game.
Yeah. It's something it's hard to do. I mean,
It is.
I'm still not very good at it, but I will say I'm thankfully in roles and with teammates that I can let them do their thing. As long as I can call good ideas, it's okay. But it's definitely tough to get used to, I'd say.
It's something like I can touch on as well, like, because obviously when we got Ben and Jake into the team, the idea was that, okay, I'm gonna step back from the fragging role to go more on the flex support, and then like we have strong fraggers into the team. But since we know Kanto and Ben mainly are not that vocal players, they can do amazing job because of their raw skill in the front and on the roaming. But the fact that is that they were not that good at talking to each other what to do and coming up with ideas together than, for example, if I was roaming with Ben or Kanto, or let's say Jake was roaming with Ben or Kanto. It was definitely like Jake saying, hey, go there, let's do this, or you bait there, let's do this. And when I'm always roaming or entering, I'm always taking the other guy with me, and I'm always saying, let's do this or this, and like keeping that we're on the same page. And we had a long time where we kept Kanto and Ben on entering and roaming, and they can do so much, but the full potential was not there.
Yeah, it's just because they don't work together.
Exactly. They're just not that vocal, and like we told them that let's try to work on that. They tried to work on that. It got much better, but it's still not as good as, let's say, I'm entering with Kanto or Ben, or Jake is roaming with one of them. So that's definitely one of the things we kind of went back to, like just before this major thingy, like I went back to kind of entering kind of role, not in all maps, not in all situations, but more leaning towards that I'm leaning from the front again. I'm leading from the front again, and then we can always count on that Pengu is there doing Pengu things where he can shot call and lead from there. And Jake is also, when Jake comes up with ideas and leads, he can lead really well as well. He's just not doing it as much. He could.
Yeah.
So I want to I don't want to cut this off because I like where it's going, but we're very close to getting to this point. Anywho, but I want to just take a step back to talk about the Raleigh Major a bit, because I think that was a very pivotal moment for you from the outside. Sorry?
You're cutting out. I can't hear.
Raleigh Major.
Oh, no.
Grand Finals.
Finals.
Empire.
Lost. Empire. Coastline. Anyway.
Minus 17? Oh, yeah.
This is proof, by the way. The chat is saying this is proof that you are capable of making jokes. So, the Raleigh Major happens. G2 comes so close, so close, to winning. your first big event with G2. Feel free to correct me, but on a big stage, this is the best result that you've ever had as an individual player.
Yeah.
I remember the fallout post-event, and you in particular wearing a lot of it. Were you expecting that level of backlash and scrutiny from the community? Was this something you were prepped for? Because I don't know if up until that point, you had ever really received that level of attention at an event. And with it, at the Raleigh Major, a lot of people pinned the blame for the team on you. And if I remember correctly, you pinned the blame on yourself as well.
Yeah. Well, this is if I go back a little bit when I actually when I became a professional player in ENCE, I remember talking with Jonas, and the first advice he gave to me is that grow a thick skin. You're gonna get hate no matter what. You're gonna get a lot of hate, and it was good advice. But getting that much hate would get through anyone's skin.
Yeah.
Like it didn't all start at the Raleigh Major. It actually, like, if you want to go back and see me joining ENCE championship team, getting relegated, it kind of started already there. I grew haters that would never be my supporters. No matter if I became a best player in the universe, they would still be my haters. But definitely Raleigh Major, me playing. There were actually only 2 maps I played really bad. We played 4 maps, right? But 2 maps I played so bad that it showed on stats on -17. And I didn't know during the game that I was playing that bad. When I saw the stats afterwards, I was like, okay, we lose as a team, but I couldn't help myself think about that. Is this my fault? Like, if I just played better, if I just played like I normally played during that tournament, I played amazingly every single game. And obviously I blamed myself. Even though my teammates told me that don't blame, it's not your fault. We played like a shit. Like we talked after, we knew the reasons why we lost. It was not only me, but still, if you have a guy going -17 and you lose, you think yourself as a problem.
Yeah.
It didn't knock me down completely. Obviously, that was just, again, the hunger, like me getting relegated, like hunger, like, fuck it, I'm gonna smack it everybody's faces again. I'm gonna prove myself, you know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've been in not to the same extent, because you've definitely built more, because you were like, it was the timing of when you joined G2, because like you joined it, and it's not even to say like I don't think you joining G2 was like G2's downfall. Like, I think it was reasonable for them to make a change. Like, obviously like there were struggles within the team that they needed to resolve. And like, I don't think you were a bad choice whatsoever, but it was just, you were the choice at the time. And no matter what, basically, if you guys weren't winning, like, you were going to get the shit end of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gotten the shit end of some stuff too, with choking and doing bad in finals and all that. So I can relate to you on that. But yeah. Just
I have to say, I personally think even if we won the Raleigh Major, the G2 we had back then would kept sinking. Like, it was the downfall already.
Yeah.
No matter if we won it, I think we would have still went down like we did.
Yeah. No,
what do you think that is, by the way? Just since we're on the topic.
That's hard, because obviously I wasn't in the team when they were on the top. But I personally think that G2 was always the team that was first to define the new meta. It was the first team, or PENTA, to be on top, and everybody tried to follow them, how they play, and like kind of see from them. And now this meta, as we all know what the meta now is compared to even last year, it's always going harder and harder, and it just started getting harder, and other teams started catching up. It was not that much G2 going down, it was just other teams started to catch up and compete against them. And because the meta became so hard to actually go above and find the right way to play it, because there is not really a right way to play the meta anymore. It's multiple ways. Like when it was back in the day, it was kind of like there was only few ways to play the game. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons. It's not the G2, it's the game evolving how it is, and the meta, and other teams catching up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think part of it, and I've talked to Fabian about this as well a bit, and I think we mentioned it on his episode here, is I know he felt similar to me about the team, just that like they'd had the core for so long and felt like basically things had kind of run their course. Like I feel like you can only play with people for so long to have like the right level of like fire and motivation. Like towards the end of EG, like we wanted to win, but it was like at the end of the day, just like mentally everyone was coasting more than we should have been. That's probably right. And like the thing is like, yeah, maybe they didn't do that. Like maybe even in my case, like when I left EG, maybe they didn't do that well after, but they were more motivated after I left. And same with me, I was more motivated and fired up and like hungry to win after I left. And maybe not necessarily I was more motivated, but it was easier to actually put it into practice and execute on. Like I could feel myself improving more literally just from making that change. And I think it's a new environment sense. And I think sometimes things have an expiry date, I would say.
Yeah. That's probably hard for me to see it as well, because obviously I didn't have it because I was not the core. So when I joined the team, I was hungry. I was like, I wanted to do everything. But if the others started already, like you said, it's just
like I guess I would anymore. Say like with your current roster, right? Like I'd imagine like the environment now with your current roster feels like a lot hungrier than right? Like, and it's literally just I feel like it's just down to that. Like, and it's not even on like a certain player. Like probably even like Kanto and Pengu specifically, they feel even like hungrier now than when they were like on the previous lineup, right? Yeah. Like, and I think that's where it kicks in, is like just the new environment, playing with new people or like new ideas, and just it's not the same old where you're trying the same things and they're still not working, you can't figure it out.
Yeah, and now when you have new players, you need to work to get again like from the scratch. You need to start working hard. When I joined the team and there were the 4 players, I feel like maybe they didn't think about that hard work that much anymore, because they already did it and like they already won everything and like they kind of settled in. But when we made the big change now and we got the 2 new players and it's a completely new team, everybody has to work.
Yep. Yeah. I think that makes sense then.
Yeah.
So from the Raleigh Major, we addressed the start of G2's downfall, and then G2 kind of continues onwards. You get a pity invite of sorts to SI 2020, and you actually make a pretty surprising run. Now this would be the end of the line for Fabian on that team. And you'd already been making some changes on G2, right? Goga had moved off to Vitality prior to that. This G2, the G2 changes that come now are fascinating, but I want to talk about SI before that, because you probably knew you were going to get the invite. Most smart people in the community knew you were going to get the invite. It does still kind of strike me as crazy that there was such a groundswell of support for Team Secret, who had an objectively worse track record than you had. But You're playing at your third Six Invitational. You have played at SI on 3 separate teams now. And I guess technically this is your best result. I mean, I guess the ENCE PENTA result is good, but I would say that there was definitely more pressure here. This is more impressive.
Yeah.
The team was in its death throes, and I mean, Fabian talked about it on our podcast, basically saying that regardless of win or lose, he felt like that was going to be his last kick at the can for G2. Did you get a sense that the team was going to undergo such sweeping changes at the event? And if so, how did that play into your team's results at SI 2020?
I have to say, I think it's unfortunate that what happened with Grin, and we had to pick up Sherbers right before the event and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then we actually saw that we played quite well with the standing coming in only a few weeks before Six Invitational. Is kind of one of those things you look back and think about, well, what if we had a player who was on the team already longer and was familiar how they play, and we would have played together longer and work. Because if we did already quite well with stand-in, what we could have done as a kind of like now looking back, because Fabian obviously left and kind of like all G2 left at the same time as a last event as a team. Let's say if we even had a Koga for that event, we could have probably, who knows, do much better. But you can never know. You can never look back and think about like what if. It's one of those things I actually look back and think that, hey, it was a good run, but it could have been so much better.
Yeah, I feel I'd feel the same way. I think in your shoes, where like, yeah, there could have been more. I mean, I think now like you guys realize your potential as well. But yeah, just like the whole last second sub thing. I mean, that's always gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And the fact that you have a good run, like a decent run, with a last second sub, only kind of adds on to that. It's kind of, I guess, insult to injury in a sense.
Yeah.
Where, yeah, just you feel like you could have done more for sure. And I think you guys showed that you were capable of it, because you guys, like, it felt like you guys were playing good Siege. It was just,
we won the PDS 2-0 first game, and then who did we win after that?
Wreck,
obviously.
Yeah. You were the first team out of groups.
Yeah, exactly.
You were the first
that was kind of like,
if I remember correctly. Like,
yeah. You obviously, as a player, you always go into the tournament thinking about that you have potential, like you can win. You always go into the tournament. Otherwise, you don't even want to go there. But after actually getting out of the groups first,
that's what I was going to say.
It was kind of like, well, what the heck? Let's go all the way to the end now. Let's give it all.
Yeah, like our team was like we were sitting there watching. Obviously, like we were watching all the games while we weren't playing, and we were literally saying to ourselves, we're like in groups, like it looked like you guys showed up and just had fun.
Yeah,
and like you guys were playing well because of it, and like that's everyone knows. Every like pro team knows this. Like when you're going in and having fun, like you're playing the best Siege. You are.
Yeah, definitely.
That's just how it goes. But then it looked like after that. Like we even noticed it because I think a couple times we played after you guys, so like we were like sitting there waiting, and like we could see you guys while you were playing, and just the demeanor on your guys' faces was different outside of the groups, like how you were treating. Like we could tell you guys were like more intense and serious rather than like loose and having fun, and we could tell that it was like you got through to playoffs, and then it was like, oh shit, I guess we could win. Like better focus up now, and then
that's when it went to shit.
Yeah.
So we'll circle back to the old, if there's no pressure, you do well, and then you're like, oh, we have pressure now. I will say this about
a little bit of pressure is always good.
Yeah, I will say this about your SI 2020 run was I have cheered against G2 far more than I have cheered for them, but given that you got invited to the event, I wanted to see a deep run from G2, frankly. You know, you were still the defending world champions, even though it had felt like a decade since the previous SI.
Yeah.
You know, your roster had a new look. I think Sir Boss is a great dude. I think he's a really nice guy. From what I've interacted with him, he seems like a good person. He's never been a player that I thought was of the skill or caliber to go toe to toe with G2. And I mean, even if you have a sub who's not Sir Boss, if you have another sub that I think is of the same talent as most of that roster, I could have seen you making a deeper run. I just think that not only do you have a guy who's trying to learn the system, but you have somebody who's already proven that they are not able to keep up with a great deal of players in Europe. And we'd seen that when Sir Boss had played in Pro League, when he was on that PENTA roster way back when, and through Challenger League too. So if you have somebody of equal skill level to the G2 roster, I think you can make a deeper run. And you know what? It was still kind of nice to watch. It was a nice end to that G2 chapter that started at SI or just before SI 2017 and then ran until Fabian left after that event. And now it's a totally different look for G2. And it's, you know, you couldn't have announced a cleaner separation than you'd got after most of the core identity of that team is gone. I mean, you're on the core now. You, Kanto, and Pengu are the core of that team. And I mean, for purists, they're going to be like, oh, UUNO is not an original member, because you still were a pretty recent addition. You joined last summer or just before last summer. So, I think the next question and the next topic to get on is, how on earth do you make the changes that you made? You import Virtue from Australia, and you managed to swing, at the time, statistically, like the second best fragger in all of Europe, who's on Na'Vi, who have their own problems, but they've been a better team than G2 for the last 6 months. How do you manage to get Citizen to leave Na'Vi, and how do you manage to bring Virtue over?
Well, first of all, I have to say, no matter the results that G2 did in that past year, like after them winning Six Invitational, obviously is the downfall. We kind of still knew that we've been playing bad and not showing the same G2 anymore, but it's still something about the G2's name is what brings attention if you offer player a spot. It's hard to say no to a G2, at least on my spot when I was joining a championship team before we lost the major, because they haven't lost a major before that in 3 different majors. When I got an offer from G2, it was like, who would say no?
When like, the way I see it is, it's a lot easier for fans to lose respect for players than for other fellow like pro players. You know what I mean? Like,
and there was
a lot of fans that were sitting there. They were like, "What happened to G2? G2 sucks now," and they lose respect. To be honest, those guys have no fucking clue what they're talking about the game, so they don't like. They're just saying that. But like, there wasn't any pro player or team that's worth anything that was like, "Yeah, G2 sucks now. They're never going to be able to come back," or these players can't come back from this. Like, everyone knows that, like, at the end of the day, like, the players on G2, like, what they're capable of, right? Like, you don't be the team that they were, like, for no reason. Like, there's a reason they were as good as they were. They all have their certain characteristics and attributes and their skill and everything that adds up to that. It's just a matter of getting the right team to make that work. So yeah.
And that's what I mean, is that we knew that we can try to ask anyone, because it's just the offer coming from G2 is always gonna, like, no one is gonna directly say no. Everybody's gonna at least think about it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, like, when we were already before SI thinking about the replacement because we had a stand-in for the actual 5th, and we were thinking about either Jake or Ben. Never really, like, obviously didn't talk or didn't make any offers before that and anything like that, but there were options. And Fabian ended up leaving, and we had 2 spots open. We were like, oh, what the heck? let's get both.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it happened.
It's crazy that you're able to swing that, because we are well past the days that, I don't know if you remembered this time period, but I know Troy will remember, where it was basically just like, yo, I don't want to play with you guys anymore. I'm going to play with this team. And then it happened. Like,
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was the Wild West when it came to player responsibilities. There were no contracts, there were no orgs involved. If there were contracts, it was to get t-shirts or G Fuel, or you wouldn't get paid by whatever fifth incarnation of Era existed at the time. So it was just like, you wanted to play with somebody, you just go play with them. It's not that simple anymore.
No, there is poaching rules and everything, right?
Yep. It comes from now a place where this is very firmly a business.
Yeah.
Org owners can't DM you the way that they used to be able to. Players can't just come. Like, I mean, obviously, like this happens in professional sports, where somebody will say like, hey, I'd love to team up at some point. I know that happens. I hear it at after parties, for crying out loud. But clearly it's not baked in. It's not like an org owner taking you out, or, calling you or sending you an email being like, yo, we want you to join us. There's rules against that, as you said. And just as there are rules governing, contracts.
Yeah, that's the scary part, because we gave our options to G2. Hey, these are the players we are looking into that we would want to bring the first options, Jake and Ben. And then it's just like you're kind of kept in dark, like G2 handles it. They contact Snatic, they contact Navi. And it's like every day you wait and think like, how is it going on? It's like, what is Navi saying? But is it too expensive, and stuff like that. And then it's just like, it's not the same, like you said, like back in the days, it could be me talking to Troy, like, hey, yo, can I join? I'm like, yeah, sure. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore.
It's different.
There is rules against that, yeah.
It's no fun sitting in the dark either, man. When you're sitting there, like, shit, I hope we get him.
Exactly.
And then the whole time you want to practice as well, but like you can't really practice because you don't know if you have that guy on your team yet.
Yeah, and it was even harder with Jake, obviously, because Jake is in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to wait that the deal goes through. After that, we had to start waiting for his visa so he can come into EU and we can actually practice with him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a lot of stress going on, but it was a big relief when it actually happened, because it's one of those things that almost didn't happen. Obviously, it's really rare that you can just land to like big players from their teams, biggest players from both of their teams, basically, like that. It's just like, even in sports, you can just go and say like, hey, I want Ronaldo, I want Messi, It's kind of the same in esports, It's a professional scene now, and you just need to wait in the dark and ask every day, like from the G2, how is the negotiations going on, and stuff like that.
So I remember when we used to be able to, message teams, and they'll be like, yeah, we're talking to this person. Yeah, we're talking to that person. We're thinking about this person. Now it's just like, I have no idea what's happening. Or like, maybe.
Me neither.
So, but so you end up landing Citizen and Virtue. How does this immediately impact the team? And how much do you have to start over? Because I mean, number one, you're, regardless of who you're getting, must be a hell of a job replacing Fabian to begin with.
It is. That kind of landed on my shoulders, to be honest, because obviously I had to take the leading role. But we had to start from the beginning, from scratch. Think about roles, think about everything, new strats, operators, who plays what and who plays well in what role. So it was kind of wild ride. Like I said already earlier, like having our two best mechanical players, Kanto and Ben, obviously in the fracking role. It was our first, obviously we started like that, and then we saw it didn't really work out, and like we went a little bit back, switched the roles a little bit. But yeah, we had to start from scratch, and like that's what we've been building at the moment, and I think we're still not finished with it, New meta is gonna change, we need to think about again who plays what, and it's a long process.
Are you still in that process? You said it's a long process. Are you still dealing with it, or?
Yep. I don't think we are perfect. Obviously, we haven't won.
It's a long, never-ending process.
I was
It's
going to say, it seems like the type of thing that's
like, I'm still in that process.
never done.
Yeah. It's one of those things that will never end. Definitely.
Yeah.
You think the if I were to ask you just very quickly, because I don't want to interrupt Troy, if I were to ask you, compare the ceiling on this team to previous incarnations of this roster, where do you see it? Oh no.
You ask?
Wait, what? Sorry.
I said if you oh my god.
I thought you asked something from Troy.
No, I said I didn't I didn't want to speak over Troy.
That's what I thought.
I said compare the ceiling, the highest that you think this team can get. Compare it to previous G2 rosters, because I'm sure there's probably pressure or expectations at play that would lead you to want this to be or need this to be better than the PENTA G2 rosters of old.
Well, first of all, what the G2 PENTA core did is really hard for anyone to ever do what they did, but everything is possible. And if you wouldn't believe your potential and your team to do better than someone else, then what's the point even trying? So obviously, my expectations are that we work hard and we want to get back in top. Like, it's same as Troy right now. He's a defending world champion. I don't think this is where he's gonna stop. It's just more work behind the scene at the moment.
Yep.
So,
I agree with what you said there. It's like you wouldn't be at least most players. There's some players that wouldn't feel like this, but I'd say like the most competitive players, the best players, in my opinion, they won't be on a team long term unless they think they're capable of being the best ever. Like, that's because that's what they want. Like, that's what the best players want. They want to be the best ever. Like, they want to be able to do better than what G2 did. And they're like none of us are there yet. Like, because that's a work in progress. Like, it's just tournament by tournament. You have to keep on working at it and improving at it. But I mean, if you don't think you're capable of it, you're kind of wasting your time then.
Yeah.
I didn't say that as like a gotcha question, because I'm aware. Yeah. I'm aware that he's not going to be like, it's shit. Like, I know he's not going to be like, you know what, after honest reflection, I don't think we have anywhere near the potential of previous G2 rosters. So pack it up, everybody. Go cheer for another team. Like, I get
it's a different team though. Like, it's a different G2.
It is a totally different identity. Yeah.
That's kind of the truth, is that we are different G2. And if you want to look at it, that when I joined the team, we were fighting against to be as good as the old G2, like to be good as they used to be. Now we're fighting against basically a complete different team, I would say. Like, obviously at the same time you fight against the other teams, but when you talk about you want to be better than the best has ever been, which happens to be the PENTA G2 core, you're fighting against that spot, but you need to start somewhere. Like, for example, right now, next Six Invitational, obviously, I can say with confidence, we are gonna be there. SSG is gonna be there. If not, then things has went down really badly. But that's where we go fight against SSG. You always go there to fight against the World Championship, like the previous.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't just make it, you'll get invited, right?
Yeah, well, why not?
I don't think invites are not a thing anymore, by the way.
No, it's not.
It's not. Yeah. It was the last one, and I agree it's not deserved invite. But at the same time, if someone was to get it, you need to be stupid to think that it wasn't G2,
Yeah.
It made too much sense.
Yeah. But it also was the funny thing, because a lot of haters were in our neck because we couldn't qualify any other way, and then getting the invite. I think I just tweeted like smiley face, and it was it was one of the best things to smack it back to the haters.
Yep.
That hey, we're here anyway.
Yeah,
we're still here. Yep.
The way that I see it, as I said, and I did a whole bang on about this, was that there was no team that wasn't present already. Of the 15 teams that had locked it in, there was no team that was as deserving as you. You can argue for hours as to whether or not an invite should even be in play. Frankly, I think the only teams that should be invited to majors are the teams that finish first and second. That's it. Maybe even top 4 if you want to go that far and do like a CSGO style system where you have like the legacy teams and the top 4 teams make it. And then there's like a group stage and blah, 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 blah. Sure. They're auto invited.
That's the thing. Esports, we can always talk about like who deserves and like who played good at that time. But esports is not fair and square. It's a business. And if you think about it in a business-wise, who would be a better business to get in that tournament than G2? If you think about it, the storytelling time, who would be a better team to get that invite than G2?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone can like disagree that with the storytelling and business-wise, we were the best option.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I argued too, is that from a casting perspective, I think that if one of 16 teams are there solely for story, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because there's every single event, we've always got 2, 3, maybe 4 teams that just don't deserve to be there, quote unquote deserve. They just get slapped and they leave. And what's the story they build? Nothing. Right? Yeah. Like, you look at the Raleigh Major, what story came out of the bottom 4 teams that got kicked out of the Raleigh Major? Basically nothing. There's been zero story that's come out of them. So even if G2 gets invited and finishes in the final 4, the story that comes out of that is that G2 got invited and then got destroyed and get kicked out right away. That's a storyline.
I was damn close to the bottom 4 at Raleigh.
I know. And the storyline came out of it that you found a new team.
Yeah.
But that was your personal storyline. That wasn't your team's storyline.
You left.
Yeah.
That's where you left. Yeah.
It was a tough event.
I put the Raleigh Major somewhere far away, so I can't remember anything.
I'm with you. That one's gone.
Yeah.
Well, Milan in 2018 I can remember, but Raleigh, I don't need to remember that.
I just remember the one most vivid memory for me of Raleigh was it was like a day or two after you got kicked out in groups. It was the day before the main stage. And I just remember seeing you sitting at a table with like, you were getting like lunch or something like that right next to the venue with Bosco. And I think it was Rampy. And I just looked and I was like, how much you want to bet he's going to join SSG?
No, it was at the after party when we were.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was at the chicken place. It was at the chicken place and it was before the after party. And you were out with SSG.
No, when I went to the chicken place with them, that was after the event entirely.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
At the after party, people were saying it to us a lot because we were at the after party and we were at a table outside.
Yeah, outside of the front.
Right, that was right by the door.
Yeah,
people just kept walking.
You are sitting at the only table that they had set up right by the front door outside, and it's all of SSG plus Trump.
Yeah.
And it's like, I wonder. And you're like, why is everybody saying this, man? You could always tell.
Was it you that someone came? I think it was you that came up and started counting on their fucking fingers. They were like, 1, 2.
I was
5.
There's 4 plus Troy is missing. 5. I was like, weird.
Chala was missing.
Yeah.
You took Chala's place?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can always tell.
He's back now.
Yeah.
But was
a good team too.
Was Chala even at the after party though?
No.
Oh. So he had no idea.
No, that would have been something else if he was at the after.
Imagine all 5 of them are sitting there and then Troy just walks up. Like the mistress. You're the girlfriend that SSG is trying to hide from their wives. That's what that would have been.
That would have been me.
You can always tell though at events, and I know that we joke about it, but you can see it clear as day. If a team is trying to, I don't want to use the word poach because I think there's negative connotation there, but if you're thinking about making a roster move, all you need to do is look at who's going out for food or going to restaurants with who, or who's going to bars or after parties with who.
But I think that's an NA thing.
I mean, I feel like I've seen it in EU as well.
Not that
EU
much,
tends
in my
to mix,
opinion,
though.
because-
EU does tend to mix.
Yeah.
I
Because,
honestly
for
couldn't
example,
tell
when-
you.
Yeah.
Like,
Because in EU, when we are in the like hotel bar or after party, like for example, in that Raleigh after party, we were hanging a lot with Empire players. Me and
Yeah.
Kanto especially, because I don't think anyone else came to the after party from
Mhm.
G2.
Raleigh?
Only the Finnish guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
And
yeah. Fabian couldn't
At-
go.
yeah, at the same time in Six Invitational, yes, Fabian couldn't go. At the same time on the Six Invitational, we were hanging out with like Doki. I was hanging with a lot of rogue players. And everybody's kind of mixing up in EU. But I think it's more anything if you think about it, that they go out and talk, that they actually talk roster stuff. Because we just talk shit.
I mean,
They
that's
hear
what
that.
I usually do. It was just I mean, I will say I've never been on a team. I've never made like a lot of roster changes. I feel like I haven't been the stereotypical NA player, but
No, you don't buy that many shoes either.
Stereotypical NA team, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a thing. I feel like it's a lot more behind closed doors in a lot of cases, though. Like
Yeah.
that one was very. I mean, if you were there, you'd see it. But yeah.
I found that SI kind of broke the mold though. SI 2018, SI 2018 and SI 2019 were in different hotels than SI 2020. Hotel bar situation in 2018 or 2017, 2018 or 2018 and 2019. Hotel bar, much larger, much nicer, much more expensive. Hotel bar SI
wait.
2020, significantly
Oh, yeah.
smaller, much slower,
Cheaper.
much cheaper, but is very close and is in walking distance to a number of bars in Laval and is close enough to the one bar that everybody goes to.
Yeah,
That
but
we know
don't
the
you
name of
agree
and
that
won't say.
don't you
So-
agree that the 2018, 2019 place, because it was in downtown, right?
Yeah,
But
it was
it was
very far
better.
from the venue.
It was though. Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. But
But
the bar and the hotel were really nice. And it was also convenient that the hotel that we stayed at was right in downtown.
yeah, but the 2018-19 hotel, when we were with LeStream and got first rounded, we were drinking every single night at the hotel bar
Hmm.
because had nothing else to do. And the waitresses started remembering. At least they remembered me every time when I started going there, and they were like, "The usual one." Like, yeah. It was kind of like embarrassing, but
Yeah.
cool at the same time.
Funny but sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like the guy at the SI 2020 because we were there for so much longer, right? We were there for like 8 days or 9 days or 10 days. I was in Montreal for 10 or 11 days.
I thankfully didn't get to experience the hotel bar there
Why?
Yeah.
because I guess I won.
They
Oh,
won.
yeah, that's true.
I wasn't drinking.
That's true.
I went out the one night. That was it.
Yeah, don't worry. Navi was there every night.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw Empire
So was
posted
Rogue.
too. Empire was there. I saw Empire there, but yeah,
Yeah.
There were only few rock players. Other ones were left home. They were like, yeah, it's the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
why
wondering
at first you were like describing it, Parker, and I was like drawing a blank. I was like, what was the bar like there? And
It's the
then I
same
realized.
place that you had breakfast, idiot.
I know, but I just
It was a very
Realize.
small bar, and I just remember there were that was when I'd bought an iPad, so I would just go to the bar and literally just sit there just with my new toy, just like fucking around on it and doing like crosswords and like reading shit on Reddit, just like sitting at the bar while other people were around me. And all the EU teams, like, dude, Empire and Navi were just the best running mates possible. They had a table to themselves and they were having a great time every night.
Yeah.
And then I remember Navi went out and they all bought like Canada Goose jackets and they all wanted to buy like nice watches. And I'm just sitting there being like, you know, you guys lost, right? Yeah. Like, you don't have that winner's money.
I think they just got their Japan money.
Yeah, they must have just gotten the Tokonami money.
Yeah, I was joking about them because they went to Gucci store and they came to show us, and I was like, I couldn't care less what you buy. And they were like, I started feeling like we're in America and we see certain NA teams do that a lot.
Yep.
Like, I was like, you could fit right in there.
Yep.
I remember one of the stories, and I'm obviously not going to name all the players, but I just remember Pi was going out and just spending like just an absurd amount of money, supposedly. And I just remember somebody from EU not on his team just goes, I wouldn't be spending all that money if I were you.
Oh,
He knew he was getting dropped.
Oh, yeah. I wonder who was that.
I just remember, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, why would he not want to spend that? Oh, they're kicking him off the team. Got it. I was like, Yeah, I just remember sitting there thinking of just laughing out loud at that one.
Receipts.
Yeah. I was just like, oh, poor Pi. So, but that's one of the things I miss about events is that, and I do wish events were a little longer. I know that the pros go there obviously with the want to win, right? You know, and I respect that. I totally understand that. But at the same time, like for me, I spent 3 years living isolated in Poland. I never got to see anybody. And then we go to live events and I'd be like, hey, like dozens of people that I would like to actually sit down and like have a drink with or talk to or like get to know better. And then they're just like, gotta focus on the match, man. Gotta focus on the match. And then the moment that it's done, they go to the after party, they drink to excess, and then they fly out the next day. And it's like, okay. Never get to talk to anybody.
It's like clockwork.
Yeah.
That was the joke about the Rogue as well, is that so many of them actually left so fast when they got first rounded. Was that did they actually book the tickets before they came into the tournament already? Because they were like, they're out of here.
They already knew.
They didn't have anything to like enjoy anymore.
Yeah.
I was miffed at Rogue for going home early. You know, I think that even if you lose an event as hard as it can be, I still think you have an obligation and responsibility to do right by your fans. Rogue cheaping out and flying home early meant that I don't know how many Rogue fans showed up at the event. I don't know how many people showed up at the event hoping to get one of their autographs.
No, there was the signing session as well.
Yeah.
My thing is if you lose at an event, I make myself watch and suffer.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I don't want to fucking forget it. Like, you sit there, watch them raise the trophy and just soak it in.
So yeah,
like,
that's the thing.
And I'd be mad if someone on my team didn't. Like, I don't know.
There's nothing worse than watch major final on the audience thinking about that you could be there.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I like watching the finals from the audience.
Yeah.
I like watching the finals.
Yeah, well, you don't play.
Yeah.
It's very true.
Yeah. Us, on the other hand, it's painful.
No, I can imagine. It's
painful. I mean, they're good games. The thing is too is like a lot of the time you'll even watch the game and like you'll be enjoying the game, and then all of a sudden it'll hit you like just on like a certain round or like at the end of the game. Obviously, it hits.
At the end of the game, it will hit you hard. When you see someone else lifting the trophy, it will hit you.
Yeah.
You're sitting there in the audience. You're like, wow, that was a really good round. Hey, this is fun. Oh, yeah. It sucks that you're not up there. Fuck. Just like.
I don't want. And you sit there and you just think to yourself, I don't want to fuck that up again. Like,
yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that teams, I do agree with you. I mean, I don't have any thoughts one way or another on whether it's preferable to sit and make yourself suffer, as you put it. You know, I mean, I think that there are some people, for me, if I was a competitor, that's what I would want to do as well. I would want to sit there and use that as a learning experience and as fuel going forward. But I know not everybody's like that. And I know that there are people who are going to go home and in isolation are going to put their nose to the grindstone. They're going to wallow maybe for a couple days, and then they're going to come back as hungry as ever. And that's valid as well, right? Like everybody processes it differently.
Fair enough.
Everybody's going to go through it differently. The point that I would make is whether or not it's a good motivator for future events. For me, it pissed me off that teams went home early because we only get a tiny number of events a year where these players can meet fans.
Yeah.
You don't know if somebody is flying from another continent in hopes of getting a signing session with your team, because at all of the major events, every team does a signing session. If you're a super fan, you know this. If you love Rogue, you know that if you go to the Raleigh Major or Six Invitational or wherever the next major is going to be, if Rogue qualifies, you know they're going to do a signing session. You know you get to meet them and get their signature. You want that. And for some people, that's worth the price of admission. Imagine somebody who flies to Montreal in February, which is probably the most difficult thing any human can do willingly on the planet. And you come to Montreal, you're excited to see Rogue, and guess what? They went home early because they sad because they lost. They go home because they hurt their fifis.
All right, man.
But that's I don't think we're ever gonna know what the truth is. But what I heard is that they actually asked for permission from ESL. It was I don't know if it was ESL anymore. Anyway, somewhere they asked for permission to go home, and they got the permission. And I'm just here thinking about, is that the truth, or did they not give the permission and they just didn't give a shit? Because why would anyone give them a permission to fly home because of the signing session?
I mean, Ice Cold in the chat is saying it was not ESL. So
yeah, well, whoever it was.
So, but it's just like, I mean, it's equal parts blame then. I don't care who signed off on the decision. The team wanting to go home, sure, I can understand that. I mean, in a perfect world, they wouldn't ask at all, but I guess there's no harm in asking, so they ask, fine. But somebody needs to put their foot down and say no. The problem is that there's no way to actually say no. You can't physically keep them detained in Canada. If they want to book a flight home, they can do that if they want to.
Yeah.
These motherfuckers got to stay.
Yeah.
Close down the
Ubisoft is the government of Montreal. We've locked the hotel room doors from the outside. You can't get out. We'll slide poutine in through the bottom.
That's just a matter of being professional at that point.
Yeah.
Then.
Yeah,
you know, your job is more than just playing. Like me,
it's an obligation.
Me coming as a guy who hates content and hates social media kind of thing is, I just want to compete. I know it's not the job. I need to see fans. I need to do videos. I need to do interviews, and like that's what it is.
Yeah,
that's what pays the bills.
Troy and I think, are similar in this regard, where a lot of people think that we're more outgoing than we are because of the personas that we have. But Troy can attest to the fact that there's a lot of days where it's like you just want to stay in your room. You don't really want to go out. Like there are plenty of days at events where when I'm done casting, I just go back to my room and just like sit on my phone or on my tablet or read or something like that, or even go to the bar and have like a drink, but just sit there like with one or two people and not talk to anybody.
Go do crosswords at the bar.
I was literally doing crosswords at the bar. I was literally sitting on, like, I was sitting next to like
Just
Stuart.
Imagine you like fucking like you got one leg up on your knee, you got your iPad out, glasses like lowered a little bit.
I got my glasses. Crosswords. Like, I'm trying to figure it out for you here. I got my glasses like this, just like every now and then I look up like.
You just started looking 10 years older, 20 years older.
You know,
there.
But it's true, and you can ask. There were a number of people there where it's like,
okay, done there.
You know, like, don't get me wrong. I like to be social in the right context, but there's a lot of times when we do events where I just want to, like, I don't really want to go out, and I find that at a lot of events, my willingness to interact with people can crash very unexpectedly. You know, there have been days where, like Milan, I was really bad for this. At Milan, I was dealing with some severe anxiety. I didn't want to talk to any fans at Milan, but guess what? You have to. It's part of the job. You can't just say no. And like, I get it that the players are upset. They obviously have a lot more on the line than I do. As a caster, I'm coming almost, it feels like it's work, but I almost feel like I'm a guest. right? My responsibilities are baked in. I have to cast a couple matches, but other than that, if content, maybe I can just kind of, flit around and say hi to people and take photos and do whatever. And there are lots of days where it's like you don't have the energy for that. I want to save my energy, especially my voice. I want to save my energy for the cast. I don't want to, like, there are some days where it's like I just don't have the ability to stand and take lots of photos, but you do it anyway. Because that's the job. And I think the players need to realize that too.
I mean, I'm not probably the best when it comes to that, or I wasn't in at least 2020, but I remember I actually on purpose put a hoodie that's not G2 branded. I put the hoodie up on the venue and I was like, I'm trying to get going there without not many people stopping me, but there's still gonna be people who recognize you and they're gonna stop you, and obviously I'm gonna stop and take a picture or sign something, but it's probably not the right way to do it like I did, but that's how I did it, at least there. But also 2020 Invitational was a little bit different when we got knocked out, is that obviously I got bummed that we lost like every other event that you've been losing, you feel bad. But in that event, it was not that bad because we just get the information that Fabian is leaving. We have one stand-in, so we have 2 new players we need to look for. So when I usually lose, I go into there and think about how do we move forward from this? Like, what is the next step for the team? Even in the hotel room before I get home, when we lose with LeStream and stuff, I was every day thinking about what do we do? Is it the role change or what how do we work from this? Like what went wrong? In the 2020, I couldn't really think about it because I didn't even know who I'm going to be playing in the next Pro League. I didn't know what to work on. So I actually went outside. I went to watch NHL game. I actually got out of the hotel room in 2020 and did something.
Did you go to the game at the Bell Center or did you just watch it in a bar?
Yeah, I went to the game with
Who did they play?
Dallas Stars.
Did you like it?
Yeah, I'm a big NHL fan.
The Bell Center is widely considered to be the loudest, if not the second loudest venue.
Oh, it was loud.
Yeah. It's even better when Montreal is a good team. I don't think Montreal has had a good enough team the last couple seasons, but I mean, I wanted to go really badly because if I remember correctly, I think they were playing the Hawks while we were there, but I can't remember. But
when? 2020?
Yeah, I think they were playing the Blackhawks at some point because they would have had, if they were playing the Stars, then I think that the Central, that probably would have been during their leg when they were playing the Central Division, which the Blackhawks are in. But I mean, I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, I mean, it was great. I'm glad that you got to enjoy it. And I know that it's tough. And for a lot of people that watch and listen to these podcasts, they won't be able to relate to this. And to me, to a certain extent, I can't even relate to it. If I was a competitor and I went to an event and I lost, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
But I would also be in a cool city and I wouldn't just want to sit in my room and be upset. But that's easy for me to say from the cheap seats because I've never been at that level.
I will say so I always feel like not doing anything, staying like, like you don't feel good. I will say I've always felt better going.
Drag you.
Yes, you drove.
I had to drag you to the F3 Airbnb to play Secret Hitler.
That one was like as bad as it gets, though, bro. Like,
well, yeah, of course.
Like I just got reverse sweeped in a finals. Like I didn't want to go anywhere, man.
Yeah, and then you got to stay for a play test for a week. By the way,
like it just yeah.
But that is exactly how.
But you always feel better after.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just the fact that if you manage to get yourself and go out, because before the 2020, because I had a good excuse to not feel that bad, or like because I didn't have to think about the future that much. I actually went outside. But before that, I never got myself to go outside. I know, like what Troy said, you would have feel better if I actually went out with LeStream or 2018 with ENCE guys. I probably would have felt better, but I didn't do that.
Yeah.
So now that I got this free pass on 2020, I know in the future events that this is what I'm gonna do if we lose.
Yeah. And you can still kind of have like the same mentality, like motivated and like looking to improve and stuff like that. But yeah, you feel better around other people. Like even like the fan meet stuff, like genuinely like I won't even lie. Like when I've lost and then had to do a fan meet, I don't think it's happened to me many times. I've actually been fortunate to where it's been like either before a match or like after I've won, but there's been some where it was like after I've lost, and still it's like once I'm there, I'm actually like completely myself and I'm in a good mood. Just because like, I mean, like people are excited to see you, man. Like that just makes you feel good.
And
like,
they give you nice words. They compliment you, and they talk about how they always wanted to meet, and like it's definitely make you feel better.
Yeah.
I remember the craziest fan meet I've ever seen was Dark Zero at Tokonami.
Yeah.
Did you see ours at 2020?
Sorry?
Did you see ours at 2020 Six Invitational?
No, I didn't see any of the fan. Other than the caster one was fucking insane. We had to cut the line off after like 10 minutes because we had too many people in it.
Yeah, same. We everybody got 1 hour.
Yeah, we extended ours to an hour and a half. I think we hit an hour and 45 until they dragged us because Kix and I had to cast the match.
Yeah, ours was the same. That the line was so big that they extended us to 2 hours, and I think it was Rek who had to wait next to us. There were so many fans, and it went even over the 2 hours. At some point, they just had to cut the line, and we couldn't see the ending of the line, even when they cut it after like over 2 hours.
When we got there for
there were so many people.
It like wrapped around too, right? Like when we got there for the caster one, we didn't go through we didn't go through the back door. We just went through the front door because it was closer to the signing session than the usual, like the bay that we had entered at the back of the arena. And it was like we walk through the main doorway and we can already see the tail end of the line, and our signing session is on literally the opposite end. So we're like, how can we see the line already? We walked past the line for what felt like 2.5 minutes. And it's like, if you ever try walking past people for 2.5 minutes, that's a lot of fucking people. So
yeah, it was definitely so insane. I remember Fabian even started talking to the organizers that can we do another fan meeting tomorrow, because there's so many people that didn't get the chance and they were not able to make it happen. But it was insane. I never seen like, obviously I wasn't in Japan, I didn't see DC, I wasn't seeing yours and Kicks or anyone else's, but all I seen was like few teams, and that our team, like it was insane. So many people.
When we asked if we could extend, because we had an hour as well, but there wasn't anybody right after us because it was like the start of the event. We came in like an hour and a half before the start, like the pre-show. And it was like Kix, me, and then the desk that wasn't on. So Milosh's desk was Zoronic and Jess, so it would have been Veli, Emzo, and Dev with Kix and I. If I remember correctly, it was the 5 of us. And my memory could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And we didn't have anybody after us because the show was going on, so we had a bit of a buffer. And I just remember saying to Ubisoft, I was like, can we extend it? And they said, well, we can extend it a little bit, but you and Kix are up for first match. And I was like, yeah, but they have to do the pre-show panel, and then after the pre-show panel they have to do the actual show panel, analyst desk, and then us. We have like 2.5 hours. I don't mind doing this. The problem with fan meets, and I hate to say this because I know fans will get upset by this, is that when it's signing sessions and stuff, you can't really talk. Like, and a lot of fans want to come up and they want to ask you questions and they want to talk to you and all that. But the problem is that like you can't do that, because if every person takes 2 minutes, and 2 minutes is not a long time to like back and forth. If everybody takes 2 minutes in an hour signing session, you're only getting 30 people through. So it's like, you got to realize, like, and I hate to say it to a lot of fans, but it's like, in order to maximize a signing session, it's literally just like, hey, how are you? Here's a piece of paper with my name on it, which is really impersonal. But when you got 16 teams and you got matches and you got content creators and stuff like that, it's tough. The Japan one was like 3 hours long for DZ. The fans waited after DZ lost to Na'Vi. The fans waited for over 3 hours at the convention center. And DZ stayed and took photos and signed autographs with every single fucking one of them.
Yeah.
It was absolutely nuts. Imagine you're DZ. You just lost to Na'Vi. And then you spend 2.5 to 3 hours. What does every team mostly want to do after they lose? They want to go to the after party and they want to get sloshed. You know, DZ doesn't do that. They stick around, they take photos, they sign, everything like that. Huge kudos to DZ and all the players for that. It was very impressive.
But yeah, you're right. It's a bummer that a lot of the fans, they are excited to meet you for so long, and then they get to see you for 5 seconds. They don't have time to ask questions. They have a time for a fast autograph and maybe a picture. Even on signing session, taking pictures is already a hard thing. Like there is someone constantly telling you that move on. You know, someone is there saying. So it's a bummer for them, and that's the thing. It's kind of like you don't have any other way how you could do it, to be honest. So
yeah, it kind of sucks. I I enjoy having the conversations. That's the thing, is usually the people have to move them on because I just talk. But yeah, I see what you're saying though, Parker, because like there's other people in the line too, and then if it cuts off, people have to go, then other people miss out entirely. It sucks, but I don't know. Yeah, I enjoy talking to everyone though.
I like talking too.
This is a good one. We had to do on Raleigh Major. We had to do the signing session right after the final. We lost, and
what?
Right. We couldn't even walk to the hotel.
Yeah.
We walked out of the stage on backstage, and we did it in a place that no one else did. Everybody did it in the signing session booth. We had to do it in up the big stairs in that area.
Oh, where the media center was, where they had everybody doing capture content.
Yeah. And we had to do it there. And believe it or not, like, I don't blame anyone, but I think there were 3 people. There were a lot of people, but 3 of them wanted to skip me after the final. And I remember Fabian was on my left. And Fabian, I'm not going to quote what he said, but it was not nice words when he saw them skipping me.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised by Fabian.
Yeah.
Fabian, especially after a loss, especially after the Raleigh Major loss. That's the maddest. Like after the Atlantic City loss with Kanto, he was like gracious and he was really nice. But then after the Raleigh Major loss, Fabian was like, "Fuck this city, I'm burning it to the ground." So, but I felt bad for BC because when we did our signing session in, I want to say 2019, that's when BC and I were both profiled for the Behind the Siege thing. And we were in the same signing session. So the signing session was, I was right at the start. Kix was right after me. I think it was Stokes, and then it was BC. We were the 4 people. Now, because both BC and I had like the Behind the Siege things, we had those cards. I thought I had one on my desk. It was like the little card that had the thing that they made for me, the artwork that they made, and BC had one as well. And we were giving them to people to get them to sign them. Like I would give them the card and then sign it or whatever, be a nice memento, etc. Well, because BC was dead last and I was first, people were just getting my card and then getting me, Kix, and Stokes to all sign my card. And when it would come to BC, he'd go to give them a card and they'd just be like, "No, just sign in Taros." So,
thankfully, Brandon's an emotionless robot and he doesn't care.
This is what he says to me. He's either at the after party. I can't remember. He's either at the after party or it's after the match or something like that. And he goes, "Yeah, fuck you." He goes, "You have no idea your stupid fucking cards." He goes, "You have no idea how many of your stupid fucking cards I had to sign." He goes, "Every single person kept just saying, no. He goes, "So I started signing it on your face. I started signing it." He's like, I'm just sitting there.
Bro, people are missing out on Brandon. They don't know how funny that guy is.
Some of the most,
but he just doesn't care. He doesn't want to show himself, man.
I know,
man,
but
fuck Brandon,
dude. Some of the most fun I ever had was at DreamHack Austin when we were all sitting watching one of the main stage. Can't remember what it was. We were all just sitting there, if you remember, just like on the chairs in the old booth, and he's just cracking the shits, just make it. He's just roasting people.
He's a fucking goofball.
Yeah, he's great.
We would actually joke, like when he was on EG, like after a couple drinks, he was the biggest baby on the team. Like we had all these young guys, and then we had our 26-year-old fucking mechanical engineer genius Brandon Carr, and a couple of drinks in, and he'd go, "Hey Nate, want to have a beer with me?" And then Nate be like, "Nah, I'm gonna go to sleep, Brandon." And then Brandon be like, "Why you being such a little bitch, Nate?"
I can't imagine that from BC.
No, you don't like. Huh.
NVK just said a literal child in chat.
Yes, like.
Dude,
there's a tweet that's so funny that Nate had. It was from we were boot camping in Copenhagen. I'd have to find the tweet. It would take me a while, but basically they were staying in an Airbnb and they didn't have plates or something. I forget what it was. Basically, he had a cinnamon bun, and he was saying that like the most efficient way to eat a cinnamon bun was in a bowl or some shit. Nate's got to find the tweet. I forget the exact fucking. The way he explained it was so fucking stupid but funny. Yeah, Brandon's a character. No one knows though. Like, just because all people know about Brandon is that he threw good nades and that he's smart and that he doesn't talk or tweet.
I talk to him at every event because it's never bad. The only time I have ever gotten BC in a conversation was I made some comment about like negativity, like needless negativity. And he said something along the lines of like, I'm pretty sure it was NVK just goes, Brandon thinks plates are fucking stupid.
That was it.
I was at the Paris Major and we were talking about like outrage, and we were talking about like Twitter and Rainbow Six Twitter just always being outraged, and how the players are always outraged over everything. And he says something like, he made some comment about how outrage is such a bad idea. And I said, yeah, but I said outrage sells really well. It draws people in. He goes, if outrage sold so well, why have people not made full careers out of it? And I looked at him and I said, what about Keemstar? And he literally just looks at me and he goes, yeah, I guess you're right. And then just like looked down at the ground, and I was like, I won. It's the only time I think I've ever bested Brandon in a conversation.
No,
I want him on this podcast so badly. And he told me his exact words were, when we win something.
That he did say that to me too.
Well, you want something now,
podcast.
big boy?
That'd be a good podcast. Anyways.
Sorry, UUNO. Shaz is a character as well. I stayed, and I'm sure you've probably experienced this. Old Tommy boy.
Yeah.
He stayed in
half of the things he says I don't understand because my English is not the best, and he speaks the British weird words, and
oh yeah.
Sometimes during the before the match he's explaining something and I have to stop and I'm like, what do you mean? What are you saying? Literally no
starts
idea.
Throwing out some big words. You're like,
and not only me, like even when Fabi and Pengo was on the team, sometimes they couldn't understand either, and they were like, yeah, I have no idea what you're saying. But mostly me. Like
it's
funny.
I've told this story before. Tom got kicked out of his room because Fabian's girlfriend showed up at SI. Because he was sharing a room with Fabian and Shas.
Oh yeah.
Fabian and Shas were sharing a room, and then I guess Fabian just didn't bother to book a room when his girlfriend showed up.
No. They said, I think everybody, Shas, show up, G2 overall, told Pengo and Fabian before, or even on boot camps before we left there, that you guys need to book the hotel rooms for your girlfriends. And they were like, yeah, we're gonna do it. Pengo didn't do shit. I don't know if Fabian forgot. And then
Fabian certainly didn't, because that's how I ended up with Tom in my room.
Well, Fabian maybe he was alpha male. Was like, fuck that, I'm gonna spending money. I'm just gonna kick Shash out and I'm gonna take the room for myself.
Fabian's in chat and he just said literally fake. So I don't know what is going on anymore.
He said, I sent the Nick oh yeah, he might have actually sent Pengo the money to do it, and Pengo just didn't do it. And then they were both kind of cocked over that situation.
I had Tom in my room for, it was 4 or 5 nights, and he's a funny guy, and it sucks because it's like we've got these coach, and Lycan is really funny as well in his own dad-like ways, but Lycan is funny. Dizzle is funny as hell.
Yes.
And it's like we don't ever really get to see the coaches. Pojo is one of the funniest people in the scene. He's a coach now. You know,
like Lycan tweets his humor, but you don't see all of Lycan's humor for sure.
I go out of my way to see Lycan every event, and he's funny as hell.
Yeah.
Are they like dad jokes? I don't spend that much time on Twitter, so
yeah, he's
Lycan can be a bit of a dick, and it's great.
Yes, he can be a dick,
and it's great. 100%. But then I feel like he feels badly after he does it.
Sometimes no, though. It depends.
But like a dick in the best way. Like you're that dickhead friend.
Oh, here's the tweet. I'll link it in the Twitch chat.
What does it say? All right, here's the tweet. It says, me, Brandon, you want this cinnamon roll? Get a plate. Returns with a bowl. Me, what the fuck? Brandon, honestly, plates are stupid. It can't fall out of a bowl.
That's the mechanical engineer fucking genius.
I'm retweeting that. That's glorious. Plates are fucking stupid. It can't fall out of a bowl. Oh my God. It looks like it's precariously balanced on the bowl, though. Like,
yes.
Oh my goodness.
You just couldn't imagine him saying that.
If you have a proper plate, stuff doesn't fall off of it either. Like, what kind of plates is he using? Like, is he turning the plate upside down so it's like on a permanent slope? Like,
couldn't tell
people
you, man.
function with plates.
Couldn't tell you. There was a period in time on EG where he told me he was gonna be a YouTube superstar. And he was like hyping himself up for it. He was like he had like a name for it and everything. He's like, yeah, man, I'm gonna be the next big thing. I'm gonna be famous. I'm gonna be a YouTube superstar. He's like, I'm gonna get on my grind. He never made a video. He still hasn't made a video.
Dude barely made a Twitter.
Didn't BKN start the vlogs with like bacon and egg or something?
Yeah, briefly.
Yeah,
but then
like 2 episodes and then.
Yeah,
genius.
I will say. Jordan is more driven towards that, and like now he's head of content on DZ. Like that fits Jordan. Brandon saying he was going to make content though, I was just like, yeah, okay, Brandon, sure.
I agree with that.
I can't say that happening.
No.
I think we have largely exhausted the conversation with the exception of the major. The major in this season / stage is really all we have left to talk about. So I figure now that you've touched on it a little bit, saying, you know, it's a constant learning process. You're never really done tinkering. You're always trying out new roles. You're always trying out new strats, et cetera, et cetera. Did you expect when you came into the major, so we now bring this back on track, did you expect to go as deep as you did? You came in ranked second. Was there a hope? Was there a thought that you were going to win the whole thing? Where was your team's head at for that?
You're talking about this EUL now, the online major.
Yeah, we'll wrap that up. Then we get back to being shitheads and then take some questions, which, by the way, I'll spam the Discord link here for everybody to ask their questions. Continue.
If I'm going to be honest, I thought we started the whole UL major thingy as disadvantage because it's online, and I think we work better as LAN team than online team. But I still didn't have any doubt. I actually we made it this when we made this team. We said we have a clear goal. Our goal at the moment is only to get enough points to get in Six Invitational. Like we have a long-term goal, and we are working towards that. And like we said with Troy, you don't feel like you're never done with the process. Like you always have something to grow. But still, when we came into this EUL major, I felt like we are in that state that we can win it all easily. Like let's just go now and show everybody. And until the final, I think we did show a good job. In the final, it was just I'm gonna be honest. I saw a lot of panicking. I saw a lot. Communication was really bad. It was like everybody's overflowing the communication, yelling, and like it was just the pressure and panic got into us and the final, and we didn't play like we played the games before that.
Yeah, I feel like, I guess, I don't know what you think of this, but I guess my theory on it, like mentally at least, would be like, you guys came into it with something to prove. Like, you guys came into it confident, but like you still had something to prove as a team, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because you didn't finish the split in first or anything like that. Like, you showed good progress. You guys looked good, but you didn't like prove you were the best team yet. And then you guys played your two games, and you guys were looking really good.
Oh yeah.
And then I think you guys got into the finals, like map up, and it was more proven now. And now it was like, well, now we can't lose it. You know, now it was like playing not to lose,
definitely
right?
got into us. And I think this was a really important final. Even though like I said to Troy before we started this, it's like I can't count that as a major myself as a player.
A lot of players didn't.
Yeah,
for what it's worth.
It was a good test for us, you know, like at the first big games, let's say like that, the first big games as a team with this lineup, it was really important for us to get into the final. You could say if we end up getting better and if we end up winning something in the future, you could say it was even more important for us to lose it than win it.
Yes. No, it's important to get that out of the way and learn from it, right? Because you'd rather be up and get your 1-0 map advantage in the online mini major and lose it there than get that 1-0 map advantage at invite and like all of a sudden you're dealing with this pressure for the first time, right? Like now you've dealt with that pressure before, you understand it. It's helpful to have.
I didn't get to watch as much of the EU major as I could have. Obviously, I watched the finals.
Well, I can wrap it up. Before the finals, we were clapping. Like we were really good.
And then you weren't.
Yeah, and then we weren't. It's the same as Raleigh major.
Still, like you guys were still pretty good. Like you guys weren't playing like horrible.
No, we put a good fight.
But it was not the same, and you could tell that. I also want to say, I think the first time you guys played BDS, I don't think they were playing as well either.
No.
So like it was a mix of both, but you guys without a doubt were playing better in the first two matches, like no question.
Yeah. I remember watching it and I thought to myself, like, you know, you played really well at the start. I was like, okay. I was like, you know, I thought honestly, I had been asked on my stream a couple days before the EU major, and I'd said that I thought that BDS could win. I that was before any matches had been played. Because funny enough, I thought that Rogue was going to choke, and they did. So I factored that in, but I figured that it would be a U versus BDS final. I just didn't know who was going to win, and I put my money on it being BDS. I think this is probably the most accurate actually I've ever been for a major, and it wasn't even a real major according to most of the players, so that's great. But I think BDS is a scary team. I think some of their greatest issues have been answered. I think Alems looks a lot more comfortable. I think Brede has filled a pretty big hole on the team. Renshiro, if he stays consistent, is good because, I mean, you saw at SI, Shaiko fell off on Clubhouse of that matchup against Nip. The whole team just fell apart, you know, and that was one of their greatest issues. And I think that, I don't know from a player perspective, but it seems like when BDS is on, they're a very challenging team to contain because they have that same almost characteristic that Empire had, where they can do the same thing over and over and over again, and there's no real way to counter them. You just kind of have to win gunfights and hope for the best, which was what the strategy was against a lot of Empire matches.
How I see BDS as a team is what I think a lot of other players, when they look like deeply how they play, is that they're not that strategically, how you ever say that word, good team. They are a scary good team with their gunfights, and that's how they win their games. Like
they have like basic consistent strategy, I'd say. But,
exactly.
But
kind of what the old Empire had.
Yeah.
Yep.
Kind of what the old Empire had. That you can easily counter their strats, but it ends up in the gunfights.
Yeah.
Yep. Do you win them or no?
Because it's so many times against Empire, you know, you pick off Joystick early, you pick off Karzeka early, you pick off Dan early. The round's not over, but you have just established yourself with a huge advantage because they don't have a way to fix the plan mid-round. And they rely so much on just, the most distinct to me is always Consulate. They take admin, they take the back a long desk. Karzeka does the same thing. They thermite open the top of Visa stairs. Karzeka holds or maybe pushes in towards the bomb site up top. He does the same thing every time, but he wins his gunfight 95% of the time.
Yeah. And that's when it's annoying to play teams like that, because you know what to do against them. Yeah, you know it's coming, and you do your best to try to stop it, but somehow they make it work, and you know the actual counter for it, so you can't do anything better if you think about it.
Yep.
Looking at it past, you can't go and think about, I could have done that. It can end up being a timing issue or something, like you could have a better timing, but actually like countering it against teams like that, if you lose a round, you probably did what you were supposed to do, but you just got slammed.
Yeah.
And it's annoying to play teams like that, like Old Empire, current PDS. It's just an annoying play style because you know what to do, but it's a hard team to beat.
You I was gonna ask, but obviously it's not the greatest sample size. How does that match up for you in terms of difficulty? How does that match up in previous LAN events and finals that you've had? How difficult was it?
I have to say the Raleigh major was harder.
I thought you forgot about the Raleigh major.
Yeah, well, I have to bring it up, don't I? I think that was harder for me personally. I don't know as a team, but personally it was harder to play than it was on this matchup. But like Troy said it well, we had this, like, we didn't play as well. We played at the first games, but we didn't play that bad either.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't play as our potential, but we didn't play that bad. So I think the rounds we kept winning, and we won 2 maps, and one map, but we had 1 map advantage. And we still had close games, except Oregon. It was that it gave a little bit of that, like, hope and blink, that we're still playing decent and it's still in our hands. And it was not kind of the case, for example, Raleigh Major. After we won Cafe, we lost Club. It was kind of easy for Empire, and then we lost Coastline, and we couldn't even fight back. Like, we tried, but we couldn't fight back. So it was not the case in PDS in this major final. We still, even on Clubhouse, the last map we lost, it still felt like, hey, 1 round at a time, we still have a chance.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys were still in it the whole time.
Yeah. Exactly. Anything could have happened.
So the final question then. You look towards stage 2, a couple of, but not many. There have been a couple of moves made in your region. Chaos obviously making some moves. They picked Secretly back up again. Which, for the record, unless there was some communication issue on that team, I don't think they should have dropped him to begin with. I understand that you need to make a change for the sake of making a change. I get it. And I think that a lot of teams want to do that. I think you could make a good argument that the Giants didn't need to do that by dropping Alfama, but they felt that they needed to make a change. And, they kind of said, sometimes you just got to make a change to make a change. And that's okay. And sometimes it works. Na'Vi made some changes, dropping Panics after he dramatically underperformed, which will be yet another unfortunate notch on the getting dropped from a team bedpost of Panics, as he's had a very tumultuous run through professional Rainbow Six over the last 2 years or so. They picked Blur back up again, and they picked up Joe. Everybody's talking about Joe.
What kind of reaction is that?
Dude, everybody's fucking talking about Joe.
We have, we have the FPL now in EU, and I have to say, like, Joe's obviously raw skill and stuff is up the roof. Like, he's a really good player, but I don't know if you're playing the same game when we're playing a fucking FPL. The guy's a freak. I don't know what he's doing, and if he's gonna do that in an EUL, I don't know what's gonna happen to Navi, what's gonna happen to Joe. we played He was on my team on Cafe. We played FPL, and you have 6 defenses round. Joe Spawn kills 5 of them. That's not the worst thing. He gets 4 kills on spawn kills, and he dies on the last one. So obviously he did a good job, but how the heck is that working? And
he'd be getting kicked out of Pro 10s and NA right there.
He would. After 2 rounds, people would Alta 4 and I don't know. The guy, we're playing a different game. Or I have a theory though, because of obviously he built this kind of brand character of himself, being that player, that monkey who just does everything, rushes everywhere, spawn picks everything. So I don't think he's gonna do that in EUL, but I think he's keeping up his like persona or whatever you wanna call it in that FPL.
Yeah.
Think he's gonna do well?
Honestly, I don't care. I'm not here thinking about other teams or their roster changes. I'm only thinking about my own team and how we're gonna go up on this.
So you've got Navi who's made 2 changes. You've got Chaos who's made 2 changes. There's rumors circulating that Secret might be making a change with Shate. I don't know if that's true. That would require them to swap off of communicating in German, and instead would need to comm in English, as there's no shared language between them. Obviously can't do anything other than speculate, because Shate did make a tweet baiting that, can't wait for what's next. We'll see. Maybe it was just him driving impressions. We don't know. People tweet that stupid eyes emoji all the goddamn time. Anyway, so do you think any of that changes the landscape of the EU League, or do you think you're still going to see the top 4, top 5, sort of top 6 with Navi and Vitality? Do you still think that it's going to stay roughly the same?
It's hard to say, because didn't everybody, and I mean almost everybody, say that VP didn't deserve to be in the top 4? That
a lot of people said that they got lucky because of draws and stuff like that.
And what happened is that Rogue goes by, blah, blah, and VP gets through. So it's hard to say. I think we have such a competitive league, and not only EU anymore. Like I used to think that NA was a joke because there was only few teams, and now NA is a really competitive team league, and there's a lot of good teams. The same thing is in EU, obviously. Always been. Now it's even more competitive in my opinion. So it's going to be hard to know who's going to be on the top 4, because now the pressure is obviously on us, the top 4 teams that were there, to keep in there. I think the biggest pressure at the moment is on Rogue and VP, in my personal opinion, because obviously Rogue got first rounded. VP were not supposed to be there, and they actually did quite well.
They made a roster change too. They dropped a mission.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, they dropped a mission, which is very
even more pressure for them then, to prove. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's gonna be hard. Navi is gonna try to fight now for the top 4 spot, because they were top 4 last. What were they? I don't know.
They finished 5th. They were tied with Virtus Pro, and Vitality was 1 point behind them as well.
Okay, Navi who then? It's Chaos obviously trying to climb back up from the last spot.
Yeah. How do you think? What do you think of the? What do you think of Navi dropping saves? I know you said you don't really focus on other teams. Panic seemed like a no-brainer on Navi, but saves really, or sorry, Nello. Drop Nello. That one was. That caught me off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally, how I look at the teams and how they function, I got really surprised. I think Nello was one of the how do you want to call it, back pillar, strong pillar of the team. How he plays style, and he brought the balance.
I will say, I think if they I couldn't have made a case to drop if they dropped anyone on that team that wasn't Panics, I would have been surprised, basically.
Yeah.
Right. The same goes for any of them. So I guess they just really wanted to make another change. It didn't seem as much that they wanted to drop specifically Nella. It seemed like more they just wanted 2 changes. That's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah. We don't know the insides of the team. Yeah. Obviously, we can always speculate, but it's, for me personally, it was a surprise. We don't know. Maybe we gonna kind of say that it was a surprise for us to get a 2 strong fraggers, Ben and Jake, with a team with 2 fraggers already and 1 flex player, and maybe they're trying to do kind of the same thing we did. Who knows?
Yeah.
There does definitely seem to be a push on a lot of teams now to just picking up lots of fragging power because, as Troy said many times, and it's shown in every single region, getting that early pick, winning your opening duel is more valuable right now with all the utility that there is, and I mean it's likely going to get even worse with Malusi. So
basically, the smartest team next is going to be the team who picks all the clutch players. Because you could just,
Troy, you better put lock Bosco in a vault.
Oh, it's already the intention, man. Debo's a special one.
I guess the last thing to talk about then, other than your predictions for the next stage, is that you might have seen literally moments before we went live, the Nordic Championships. Your alma mater, your former place of residence, Sisu, failed in their bid to get even into Challenger League. They lost to what was a Granite Gaming. And we don't really know what's going to happen with Sisu anymore. They will need to fight through open quals to get into even Challenger League. The only person left on the team from the original run is Bonesy. Do you have any sentimental feelings when it comes to that old team? Do you have any emotions when you see that they're struggling now?
To be honest, in that team, if there is some emotions I have towards, it's for Bonesy, and I think Protox is still hanging there on the sidelines. But obviously, I haven't played. Like, Bonesy is the only one who was playing with me and in ENCE, so I feel bad for Bonesy mostly. But as a Finnish guy for Finnish scene, I want Finnish scene to grow. I want more Finnish players to get on the map. So it's kind of sad that they couldn't get into Challenger League through that at least. But like you said, I haven't really paid attention. But if they still have a chance, then let's hope they can go through the open goals or whatever you said.
Yeah. I have a sentimental feeling for that squad. And I mean, I would like to see Sisu / ENCE in some capacity stick around, but good feelings isn't enough to get you in anymore. So
yeah,
if it ever was.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same way. I will say it's not really the same team anymore, but yeah, I mean, especially like Boonsy, I feel like he definitely could have been a player that like could have made it. Like I've only heard like good things about him as a teammate and like as a player, so that's always kind of bummed me out. And I really like him. Like I've hung out with him at events all the time. He's a really good guy. But yeah.
It is a bummer, and there will come a day where that ENCE, Sisu, Mouse Sports lineage ends up dying, and it will be a chapter closed on a pretty significant part of Rainbow Six history. Just like the EG chapter closed. It's a bummer, but I mean, things change, people grow, teams grow.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, as much of a bummer as it is that we've lost, I'm more upset. As I was going to finish with this, I'm more upset that we don't have really any Finnish players kicking it around anymore. Like, there's no.
We got Sleben over here.
We got Sleben in NA. We've obviously got you in Kanto and in EU. But it's like,
is there anyone else?
What is going on? You know,
we had Chate.
Yeah, we had Chate. And we had Stiggy last season still.
Stiggy on Vitality, who's no longer playing in professional capacity. So it was it'd be nice.
There is a lot of Finnish players trying still from the tier 3 scene. Like Funkers was in secret. He's now playing in MNM.
Mm-hmm.
No? Well,
I think so.
Yeah, he's on MNM, isn't he?
Yeah, just obviously the Gifu squad.
Stiggy is currently playing on Sisu, so we'll see if.
That was the surprising for me, to be honest, because if you're a Pro League player, I don't know how the deal went through, like them benching or kicking him or whatever. But immediately when he got announced that he's removed from Vitality, he immediately announced that he's joining Gifu. Like, did he even give it a shot? To anyone offer him a Challenger League or a Pro League spot? Or did he just give up and was like, I'm going to go into the Finnish team?
I mean, it's a good question. You feel like, I mean, Shate kind of went through this too, right? Like, he wanted to go back to that ENCE team. Now, mind you, the ENCE team was still in Pro League at this time and then dropped down to Challenger League. But do you think that there's like some sense of national pride involved with wanting to play with the most well-known and reputable Finnish team of all time in Rainbow Six? That Sisu name carries weight among players that draws them in?
Honestly, couldn't know. Maybe, or maybe it's just that you want to try to like build the Finnish team to get the Finnish team back up, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I definitely think that when I'm gonna be washed up and like I don't have the ability to maybe play in the top teams and I still wanna compete, why not try to do it with the Finnish team, you know? Why not try to still maybe teach or give some good tips for younger gunners, you know, get them there, you know, like leave something behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point to end the official questions on. Now we will move towards the questions for UUNO channel. We'll ask about like 5, 6, 7 questions, something like that, until we can't find really any good ones. Troy, if you want to give them a look over.
You go first.
Oh, I'll go first, or you go first?
You go first.
I am happy to go first. And I think this kind of plays into what we were just talking about. And I mean, this is from Rando Sando, asks, why do you think there is such a high presence of Finnish players in esports across a wide variety of games?
Do you think it's because it's so dark outside in Finland? No one wants to go outside, wants to just play video games. They get good at it, or it's just such a question I can't really answer. I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're in video games, right? Like, why, when you grew up and you went to school and all that, when you were in your military service and you were with people of the same age, did you feel like gaming was a constant conversation point that would come up?
No, and I myself like wasn't that big of a video gamer before Switch either. Like, it's just, I remember when I was playing only like NHL or FIFAs on PlayStation time to time, but when Siege came out, and I just suddenly fell in love with the game and started playing it. Normally when I was outside of this bubble, the gaming bubble, I don't think a lot of people talked about video games. I don't think it was, at least at a big thing where I lived and the group where I was in.
Makes sense, because I have noticed that. I mean, there's Finnish players, and I've seen them in Rocket League. I've seen them in CSGO, just to name 2. I mean, Overwatch had a couple, the biggest being what was his name? Timu was his name? He was quite big in Overwatch.
Taimu?
What?
Taimu?
Yeah, something like that. So I do wonder, because then you look at certain countries and it's like, you don't really see a lot of Italian pro players. You don't really see a lot of Greek pro players. Spain gets representation. France and Germany usually dominate. Lots of Brits, lots of Russians. It's kind of, it's interesting how it ends up shaking out like that, because there are plenty of countries that get underrepresented. And I mean, Finland is not a big country, right?
No.
Like, so it's funny, because I tend to see more Finns compete than Swedes or Danes, and you have to wonder why, right? So, interesting.
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a good question. I wonder.
Yeah, I'm not sure. My question that I was going to go for, so I think it's pretty good one to ask, just given that you guys currently moved into a Team S. Just like, what are your thoughts on Team S? Like, what do you think are the biggest positives? I say not a team house for you guys, but you get the point.
Yeah, I know what the question is. That's with the team house thing. That was our biggest thing that I personally said. I think everybody said like we're not gonna move into the team house. No one wants to see other sweaty underwear and socks every day. But if we have the opportunity, let's get apartments and an office like we ended up doing. And personally, I think gaming-wise, how the scene is growing professionally, it's a really good move. It's much easier to work on your problems, much easier if you have tension between a teammate or something. It doesn't happen that much when you are in the same space. I think it's a really good move. Individually, me living in Berlin rather than Finland is like I would 100% rather live in Finland. But with the team wise, it's much better that we are all here, and that's why I'm not gonna. I could say happy to be here in that sense, but I also miss a lot of things and like my getaway things from the game and stress reliefs and stuff like that. They're all in Finland that I couldn't get here, so that's a big downside of it. But that just shows who can grow out of it, and like. And now it's even worse situation at the moment because of the corona, and you can't just freely travel back and forth, with the vacations and stuff. Like we had a now vacation, I couldn't go back to Finland and stuff like that. So it's even harder, but it's gonna live and see how it goes.
My next question is actually a good one because I've seen pictures of this online before. It's asked from Sash K. Says, how did the Finnish Rainbow Six get-togethers come about, and do you have any funny stories to tell from them?
It all started in my stream. I was streaming normal ranked or something, and that was the time when I streamed more, and I built my little community of Finnish fans, and I don't know if it was me or if it was one of the guys who hosted it who talk about it, that why don't we just throw a party for all the Finnish guy like fans and stuff, and like everybody comes there and let's just go drinking. Like obviously Finnish guys go drinking and sauna and like have fun. And then there is this one guy in my chat, Iaki, who's a little bit older than us, and he's still a fan, and he immediately took it and started organizing it, because most of the times these things you just talk about them, no one actually does anything about it. And he did it, and he set up a date that was good for everybody, and in his house we did it. And it's funny. There is a good part, like there is a lot of good stories, a lot of drinking, Panari playing guitar, like dance battles, and like it's a lot of good stories. And that's a bummer that there was one Finnish party now this summer in Finland. Me and Kanto couldn't go because of we're here and the corona and stuff like that. So we actually missed out on it.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome that you guys have that though. Like,
yeah, it's nice to give something back to the fans as well, because I always think that when a fan comes to me and he's like shaking and like like, oh, when it always meet you and like stuff like that, I always feel like, why is that? Because I'm a normal human being like he is. Like I'm not above you, So us throwing that party, we can all speak normally, we can all act normally there.
It makes it feel more casual.
Exactly. Yeah. Like because I don't feel like I'm above anyone else, even though I do this as my job. It's just like nice to give something to them if they really want to come meet, and like we can just talk normally, and I can show that like we are not egoistic pro players like people usually think we are.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I don't enjoy the sometimes I don't like it when someone says something like that makes you feel like, hey, like, no, I'm no different. I'm just
exactly
like literally just a couple of years ago, you would have seen me as just some regular idiot playing video games. Like
I still see you as that.
Not exactly, like nothing changed. Like I'm still just some guy playing video games.
Yeah.
All right. On the next question, I'm just going to ask. It's from Pawn Tree. I might need to rephrase this. He says, in comparison to some teams in NA that are heavily preparation dependent like DZ, would you say that the landscape in EU is different or similar? So basically, like the identities of like the teams in EU, I think is what he's getting at, because I know I talk about it a lot especially when we have NA people on the podcast. Like, DZ's a very prep heavy team, and then there's teams like Rec that are a lot, OXG now, that are a lot like scrappier, and then like I feel like TSM's a lot like the way you described like BDS or Empire, I'd say even. But yeah, and I don't know what teams think of us, but because I haven't played against us. But yeah, I guess you already gave the take on BDS, but I guess is there other teams that have like that kind of unique identity in your eyes in EU?
There is always different teams. When you play against a different team, you always think about them differently. I personally, we have obviously a super staff who does all the preparation work for us, but I personally watch every VOD as well myself alone and stuff, and try to think myself how to play against them or how we play as a team. There's these wild cards teams like I don't want to throw anyone under a bus or say anyone is bad, but like someone like Chaos, for example. This season did they win a single game? I don't think they did.
I don't know if they did.
Only drew a lot.
Yeah.
But previous seasons as well, like obviously they have always been a middle pack, lower pack team, right? They have never finished above the middle pack, I think.
Yeah.
And it's one of the annoying teams to play because it's that team who is still gonna win few games of the season.
Yes.
And you never know when that day hits when they're playing like a madman.
Yes, like they can beat anyone, but like like most of the time you're gonna beat them, but they can still beat you like on any given day. Like it can happen.
Exactly. And
you just don't know.
Those are kind of what the PDS Empire was the same as. Those teams are annoying to play because you can do good prep work, you can be really confident, like let's go win this game, we know exactly what to do and stuff. And then I think actually last season we lost to Chaos, and it was one of those games where they just pre-fires hit the head, and like they just did all these things that you couldn't counter, and like it's like had no chance.
Yeah.
But I don't think the hardest one is definitely PDS. Empire is not the same as Empire used to be, so I can't really say they're the same. And Rogue is one of the hardest, obviously, because they're such a strong team. Mm-hmm. So every time you go against them, you don't really know what to accept. That's the hard part. It's hard to prep against Rogue. Mm-hmm. Because you don't know where ENCE is going to peek everything and hit all the headshots, or Leon Kitsch is going to flank you with smoke other side of the map. It's such a random factor what they do that seems to work, and they are so confident on their game style. So Rogue is one of the hardest always, but you just need to go into the game thinking about you're the best and like have the confidence.
My question comes from Drac Paladin, and it says, what was the most unpleasant season for you to play in Rainbow Six Siege ever? It can be unpleasant because of the operators or the meta. It could be unpleasant because of the team you were on. Anything.
It's easy. It's the season we got relegated to Challenge League with ENCE. Rather than that, I always finished quite high on the leaderboard, so that season was definitely the hardest one.
So other than that season, what about season of the game? Was there any meta or any in-game season that you hated more than the others?
Can I say next season?
I mean, you can.
Yeah, I think next season is gonna be a shit show.
Would you like to expand?
Well, Melosi is coming into the game. There is already. I think a lot of people complain about the current meta, and the meta is, in my opinion, about to get worse. So I personally, right now when I'm saying I don't like it, but at the same time, I'm going to suck it up and I'm going to find the ways to make it work. I'm going to find the best ways to counter it. But outside that thinking, I can just say probably next season is going to be the most annoying one.
That's fair. I definitely. There's high expectations for how annoying it's going to be.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Malusi and Ace change things up a lot.
Yep.
I mean, gotta embrace it, but yeah, it'll. I don't necessarily. Yeah, I don't think it's like a fun meta that's coming our way.
Yeah, no, definitely it's not.
No. Anyways, the question I was gonna ask is from my dad actually.
Oh yeah.
He wants to know basically what makes like a good teammate in your eyes. Like, what's your favorite type of teammate? Like, you don't name player, or you can if you want, but I assume you don't want to just like name your favorite teammate of all time or something.
No, I don't think I have one.
But like, what qualities I guess would make up a really good teammate in that sense?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a hard question as well because there is a different kind of teammates, different kind of personalities. But what I respected most is when I see someone working hard. I see them knowing that they do something wrong, they knowing that they need to work on some things, and when I see them actually focusing on something we've been talking that, hey, this is not going that well and stuff. I think a teammate work hard, like hard worker teammate is the quality I like the most.
Okay.
Of a player.
What do you dislike the most?
Fabian. No, I'm kidding.
All right, episode's over. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
What do I dislike the most? I guess it's the opposite, like the lazy. Like when I am the player who works really hard. I work hard for our team. I work hard for like myself and stuff. And if I see someone slacking and being a lazy, and you're putting up the work, and you expect others to do the same, and you can see someone that's saying they're doing it, but you see them not doing it, is something I hate the most.
Yeah, that's definitely it's definitely up there. I was also going to add to it is like in revert. Well, because what you first said is like someone that kind of like takes accountability for like what they do wrong. Like they know what they're doing wrong and they admit to it. They don't fight against this wrong, this up or whatever. And then to like I'm all about that as well. But to the reverse of it, just saying like a bad teammate for me, like something that really bothers me is like teammates that blame people, right?
Yeah.
And it's the same with like being lazy and stuff, but it's like nothing's my fault,
Oh yeah.
And that drives me crazy.
It's always somebody else.
Yeah.
So I have a quick question actually that comes from my father.
Oh.
I don't know if you follow Formula One.
Yeah, I do.
He says, do you think Kimi Räikkönen will win another Grand Prix before he retires?
Only if they make the changes that the cars needs to be the same. I watched today's game and he had a good chance. He was second because of the Leclerc crash and like red flag. But his car, like I can make it if you don't follow. If someone in chat doesn't follow Formula One that much, Kimi Räikkönen's car at the moment is like a class extended shield walking against ass sprinting past by. Like, it's that slow. It's that slow. It's so it's painful to watch. Like yeah.
Well,
there's nothing else to add.
Hopefully my father was listening.
If they change the cars, the rules about that everybody needs to have the same car, then he has a chance to win a Grand Prix. With the current car, no.
All right, Troy, if you have one more question, we'll do the last question, then we'll let this man go.
Let's see. I guess not. Okay, I'll ask this question. It's not exactly what I want to ask. I'll rephrase maybe a little. Yes. Did you notice a change in Virtue from like the initial EU League to the EU Major, and like what changed? And I'll say like because I noticed he definitely played different. I more so just like the progress of Jake kind of fitting in with the team and getting used to his roles, I'd suppose. Because I'd imagine it was an adjustment for him.
That's a good question. I actually saw it myself, and it was one of the questions I wanted to answer as well. It's I personally saw a change. I don't know, like Jake is one of those silent type of guys, you know, like he can talk, what like he can say like shit, he needs to get better and stuff like that aim wise and stuff, and like I know he works hard. I respect the shit out of him as a player, and I think it was probably him adapting to the EU scene, but I don't know what happened, but something happened between the stage and the playoffs, because on playoffs he was our best player, like on the EUL major playoffs and the final and stuff. And he's I just hope he keeps up with whatever he's been doing, because I saw a change. I didn't think he needs to change, you know, because I think he was doing already he plays shitty operators, shitty positions and stuff like that, and he was doing a really good job on it as well. But seeing he can do even better is always better. I'm really happy about his improvement.
I'm satisfied with that answer, Troy. Yeah, you might be muted.
I was muted.
Dude.
How did I fucking mute?
Professional podcast, by the way.
I'm satisfied. Yeah, I was saying, jeez. I noticed, he played really well in the major. I noticed the improvement. I mean, not to say he was playing bad before, because I noticed before he was playing really shitty roles in ops.
Yeah.
And like, that's also not something he's used to, right? Like, he came from being the superstar of his team. So
exactly.
He's handled it well. To him.
Sometimes you got to do what's right for the team. And I mean, that was something that I think Nello actually talked about as well before getting moved off of Na'Vi. He said that he just kind of did the roles that they asked him to play. Hey, we need you to do secondary hard breach with Kendrew. Hey, we need you droning more. Hey, we need,
Yeah.
Sometimes you're on shit roles that don't do you any good. And the problem is that it happens in traditional sports to a certain extent, but I think traditional sports are a little bit different. It's happened in CSGO, where you've seen these guys that have played on roles and people are like, oh, they're washed, they're old, yada, yada, yada. And then they'll get moved onto a more aggressive role, or they'll play on a team with a different style. And oh my God, they're back.
Yeah.
So
that's me.
We know.
Once they put me back on Ash, it's over.
That's the funny part. I was playing a lot of Ash in the professional, the playoffs, and I didn't even want to. I always told Ben that go on Ash. Let me take the IQ, and man was like, no, you take the Ash. But there is a point though. Like Ash with the current meta is not probably the best lurking.
You don't want her to die.
Exactly. Ash is better on flex, on support, or second entry than actually the first guy going in.
Yeah.
Because we've come full circle with Ash actually being a utility operator.
Ash dies, you lose more than you lose when your Hibana dies.
Yep.
So Ash is probably not the best entry fragging operator anymore in certain maps, certain situations.
Yeah. I'd agree with that.
Well, I think that about sums it up. We went for just a little over 3 hours. So take that, random internet citizens that repeatedly said that UUNO is going to say 4 words.
Hell yeah.
There was some guy who said, I'm going to open a notepad and I'm going to type out every word you say. Well, that must have been an awful lot of typing, because as much as you have even stated on this show that you don't like doing content, etc., I remember we were doing a show a couple months ago and somebody came into chat and said, like, UUNO's streaming right now, and said that he'd love to be on your show. And I thought, oh shit, okay,
love to be, but I could be.
Sorry?
Yeah. Let's go with that one.
Whatever. He said, like, UUNO wants to be on your show. You let me promote?
Yeah.
Let me promote the show?
Yeah.
So I messaged you right away, and I was like, hey, if you want to come on, we'd love to have you. And then we tried to get you on a while back, but you were prepping for the major and your schedule didn't align with us. So I figured this was...
I think I went to Finland back then as well.
Yeah. So I messaged Troy a day or two ago, or 3 days ago, something like that. And I was like, you got any guests in mind? And he said, what about UUNO? I said, let's do it. I shot you a message and you answered me at like 3 in the fucking morning. So I appreciate it. With that said, anyways, Pepe hands, as the chat would say. Where can we find you? Plug your socials for the people that want to be able to connect with you.
I'm not the biggest fan of socials, so I guess Twitter, you see it's on G2UNO. So
G2
go there.
At G2UNO. And just
on
Uno
Twitch,
on Twitch.
Uno on Twitch, and then my, I guess you'll find my Instagram with Uno, even though the tag is not Uno anymore. It's my name now, but yeah.
They'll find it.
There you go. Uno and everywhere.
We'll have for those that are watching on YouTube, we'll have your Twitch as well as your Twitter linked down below. We could have it linked down below as well. We'll put some tongue emojis next to it just for that odd saying. So we'll do that for it. Everybody was talking about calling it sexy on sex or something like that because I don't know, apparently people simp for you. And when I was looking through the questions for Uno, there was some very strange sexually charged comments towards you. I don't know if these people know it's no simp November right now.
Yeah, I don't know. When I'm streaming myself, there's a few people who come into my chat and ask if I want to have sex, and it's
you ever
weird.
say yeah? Just like
no comments.
That means yes. What is it like to be a sex symbol in Rainbow Six with raw sexual energy that obviously people care about? Is that?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about it. I don't see myself a sex symbol or anything like that. Someone started it and someone is having fun with it, so let the kids have fun, I guess.
Anyway, his DMs are open, so But that's it. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciated it. It's always been a pleasure to get to pick your brain at a variety of different events so far, and this podcast was no different. So really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule. And yeah, for everybody that's watching, don't forget, like, subscribe, all that jazz. You know what to do. You've watched countless videos for it. That's it for us, though. We'll be live next Sunday. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.